are so fancy. Oh, I guess I should have gotten some water.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Asheville City Council meeting of February 11th, 2025. If you could just take a moment to silence your cell phones. And if you could, if you would like to speak tonight, you can step out into the hall and sign up to speak. If you've already done that, great. If you change your mind and you want to, you didn't sign up to speak and you want to, you can step out into the hall and sign up at any time. If you change your mind and decide not to speak and leave early and go to Pax Tavern and get a beer, please take your name off the list when you leave so that we know you're already gone. I'm just adding that one as a new one because that happens sometimes. All right, so if you would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Council, we don't have any proclamations tonight, but if I can have a motion regarding the consent agenda, and then
So moved.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. We do have a number of people signed up to speak under the consent agenda. Looks like almost everyone wants to speak on item J. Let me just give a little context for item J, which is a resolution to decrease the membership of the Asheville Housing Authority from 11 to 9 commissioners. At a recent meeting, this council increased the number from 7 to 11, and this would reduce the number back to 9. We have some new folks that are now serving on the Housing Authority Board. As I think a lot of people know, we have also an interim Housing Authority Director right now, and we've had a number of people that have recently applied to the board, and it is the decision of the mayor to appoint those members, but I have interviewed many great candidates for the board, and some have been seated. So I know we're going to send some correspondence out to folks thanking them for applying and for those that weren't appointed. One final item on this is that this reduction would reduce the board to eliminate a resident seat holder, and so that seat will need to be filled. We do have someone in mind for that appointment, and they will be notified after this meeting of their forthcoming appointment as soon as a vacancy is made available. So, Council, do you have any other questions, comments regarding the consent agenda? If not, I will move to the public comment.
I'll just ask, the city attorney and I talked earlier today about this. It seems like one of the questions that's coming up is the state statute 157.5, which the mayor just addressed. But what kind of position does that put us in right now with removing the required statute appointee?
Thank you for that question, Councilmember Roney. The short answer to that question is that once a member is removed that is currently served by the Housing Authority, and that is the only member that is currently on the board, it immediately triggers a duty of the mayor to make an appointment to the board in order to at least have one member who is served by the board. In rereading that statute just this morning, it is clear to me that there is contemplated in the statute that there may be a delay between the time that residency figure goes away and the time the new appointment is made. So we've gone ahead and started that process in the city clerk's office, as the mayor has highlighted, to make the appointment. There will be another position open in June, which is the result of a current member coming off at the close of their term, and that member will then need to be appointed in order to ensure that we remain compliant with the statute.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have a number of folks who have signed up to speak under this item. For folks who are wishing to speak, you will have 3 minutes to speak. Please watch the lights on the lectern. Green means go, orange means you're getting close to the end, and then red means stop. The first person signed up to speak is Michael Woods.
Thank you. The first thing that I would want to do is to actually speak to the character of the removal of these current members. You know, back in December, whether you all have the transparency or not, back in December, the mayor contacted all the current members about and let them know that she was going to replace them all. Once she realized that she could not do that, and that was an abuse of discretion, then there was the attempt that there was 3 members of the board that she wanted to replace. And she sent a letter to them, letting them know that they could come speak with her, but she would listen to them, she would not answer any questions from them, and nor would she speak. And now you all are a part of a conspiracy of being able to remove these members. If you were going to reduce, why not reduce from the membership that you just added? Because in order to remove a member, there needs to be a reason. And there needs to be a hearing. And for the workaround to name these particular men, one of which I am very close to, and is a man of high character, and both of these men are committed to this community. I think this is wrong. I think it is very wrong. And I would like to know why. There should be transparency with this. And the reason that this is happening, I mean, she increased it in order to reduce it. Well, you increased it by 4. Why not remove some of the most recent ones that you put there? If these men have done nothing wrong and you have yet to state what they've done, why remove them? Why shorten their time? They're leaders in the community supports them, but you're making a decision, and to me, I guess this is another executive order, you know, apparently just like they're doing in DC. You know, and so I have a problem with this because you are defaming the character of these men by doing this. You've named these men. You've named who you're going to remove without giving a reason why. And the statute requires that. If I was on the commission, one of the things that I would do is I would ask for special counsel. I would ask for an investigation of the mayor because I would want to know why. I would want to know why in the world would the mayor allow this. Thank you.
Thank you. Tillman Jackson.
So where your light at? You told me to watch.
Right in the front.
All right, okay. Good evening, councilman and everybody listening. I'm one of the ones who were named to be removed from the board. And it's kind of been a process. I've been asking why, and I can't seem to get that. I thought we was gonna have a hearing and I was gonna talk to her and see it, but it ain't happening. I just don't think that's fair. If I did something wrong, I think you ought to tell me about it, let me explain it. And then if you make your decision, I can respect it. The other thing is, and what I'm afraid of, if you do something like this to me, how much more would you do to the people that we serve? All I'm asking is for to hear what you're telling me I did, and I can defend it. And that's all I asked for from the jump. And I've been running through these hoops, getting emails and doing all this stuff. I hear the accusations, everything. I just like for you to bring it to me, what the reasoning is, show me the facts, and we talk about it. And I'm not just doing this for me. Let me just be real with this. I'm doing this for everybody in here, up under the sound of my voice. Because no one should be accused of something or done or be eliminated from something without cause. So if we go through the process and you decide that the cause is relevant and we got somebody, however you're gonna do it. But if you're just gonna tell me that you're gonna do it and then go and go behind and do it slick and get the council to vote on it and then put my name on it. That's put my name on it made it personal. I don't understand that. Because I ain't had no ill words with you, I ain't had no ill situation. You could have came and talked to me, I just don't understand it. So my conversation here today is, don't allow her to use the statute or the council to hide behind the way she should operate in her authority by giving me a chance to speak or be tried for whatever cause she said I did. Thank you.
Thank you. Tony. Tony Shivers.
How you doing, everyone? Speaking in conjunction with the removal of 3 community leaders, these men I would give my life for, and their integrity speaks for themselves. This situation is a statement for the future guidance for removal, structured determinants of health. The lack of information, the lack of knowledge, the lack of wisdom that is needed to empower our communities. Today's goal is to work towards improving the process for removal in the future to ensure the proper representation and accountability being done without the grounds of abuse, mistreatment of community leaders, and the creating of healthy community infrastructure. Structure is what the men stand on, and they will give their lives for the justice and fairness of this community. I can just stand here as a community advocate who is a community health worker that's trained in violence prevention, that supports them wholeheartedly. They just want complete fairness. And on behalf of Tillman Jackson, Reggie Robinson, and Elder Robinson, to my knowledge, in the removal of a person from the board, there's an action of what they are charged and then needed to be voted upon. And the results of them being removed, should it be demonstrated if it's the lack of experience or the commitment in the mission of the organization. That's not the case. Ending in this quote of Trent Shelton, life has taught me that you can't control someone's loyalty. No matter how good you are to them, doesn't mean they treat you the same. No matter how much they mean to you, doesn't mean they value the same. Sometimes the people you love the most turn out to be the people you can trust the least.
Michael Johnson.
First I want to say, everything I'm about to say, I tried to deal with it privately, patiently, for months. I used to be a former employee with Asheville Housing Authority. I was a custodian at the Reed Eddington Center. Also, I used to teach boxing to inner city children there. During my employment there, I was subject to a lot of things allegedly that I thought was completely out of line, was completely disrespectful. Months ago, I filed a formal complaint to the Housing Authority's HR on behalf of Reggie Robinson and Miss Monique Pierre, alleging corruption, abuse of power, and breach of fiduciary duties. Upon that, I continued my work duties, and after that, I felt what I had to believe. I had to resign due to constructive dismissal. Me being here has put me in a very torn situation because I'm a proud black man, and I stand up for my people and the community of Housing Authority. I was raised in these places. My grandmother lived there for 65 years until she passed away. I have did everything I possibly could to deal with this positively. But for people to stand up here and try to create false narratives, for them to try to change things, to try to make it seem like it's something it's not, to lie to the public, is completely unacceptable. I did everything I possibly could. Months ago, I tried to reach out to a city council lady to see what I could do to meet with the mayor. She told me that Asheville Housing wasn't a part of the city, so I went on to, further my process to try to find the best way possible to handle this. I seen Miss Monique Pierre be fired for whatever may reason they say it is, but it seemed to me that these people use this woman as a scapegoat, and now these people are trying to stand up here and make it seem like they're saints. I don't have any problem with Pastor Tillman. I never had any type of wrong run-in with him. Mr. Butch never had a problem with him. I can't say anything bad about him. But what I'm standing up here and saying is that I have alleged, I have told these people months ago that Reggie Robinson breached his fiduciary duties. He abused his power to try to unlawfully get me fired. And now all of a sudden, these people trying to sit here and make it seem like the mayor unlawfully removed this man. This man should have been removed months ago. Months ago, this man should have been removed. I tried everything I possibly could to try to deal with this. Now I have to come and put my business out in front of the whole city for people to understand and listen to me. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Reginald Robinson.
Good evening, honorable city council members and staff. It has always been my desire to be a productive citizen. As I have served on the housing board, I have shown equity, fairness, integrity, and openness. I was raised in the Mumford community by Sandra Robinson, an educator who served in the Asheville City Schools for over 30 years. I was also raised by my father, Henry Robinson, retired religious editor of the Asheville Citizen Times. He was also a professional photographer and historian. I attended Asheville City Schools, graduated from Asheville, North Carolina, Asheville High School in 1985, and then I matriculated on to North Carolina Central University, where I studied public administration and also ran track, earning All-American status. In the early 90s, I moved back to Asheville from Atlanta, Georgia, and started to work at Mission Hospital in the radiology department for 14 years. My job was eliminated. I lost my job, my car, my house, and my woman. Thankfully, I was able to get into housing and move into Hillcrest, North Carolina, 11 and a half years ago to rebuild myself. During this time, I have become an accomplished football, basketball, and softball official. I am the in-school suspension coordinator at Asheville High School. I am the head track coach there as well. I have worked for Parks and Rec in the athletic department as a contract worker. I am an active member of my church. I'm actually the head chef in the kitchen staff. I have a passion for working with seniors and kids. During the COVID situation, I headed an educational pod in Hillcrest Community Center. During the aftermath of Hurricane Helene, I helped coordinate a distribution center out of our community center. Also during that time, I partnered with Water to Wine to bring flushable water and water totes to all the housing developments and the surrounding areas. We also made videos on how to clean and be healthy and safe with limited use of water resources. I am the father of 6 children, the pops of 13 grandchildren. I live my life by helping my fellow man any way I can and help produce more productive citizens in our community. I am Reginald Vaughn McGowan Robinson, and this is who I am and what I stand for. And in closing, I would like to say thank you for this opportunity, and may God have the final and ultimate victory.
Thank you. Scott Farkas.
Hello, City Council. I'm coming before you as a commissioner for the Housing Authority of the City of Asheville, but more importantly, a very concerned citizen about what's going on here. Today, you are voting on a resolution to reduce the Housing Authority Board from 11 members to 9. This follows your recent vote to increase the board from 7 to 11. Does this not seem counterintuitive to y'all? Have you been informed of the mayor's reasons for this reduction? I respectfully request that you remove this resolution from the consent agenda to allow for a thorough discussion on the matter. It's important to understand why the board size is being reduced so soon after an increase and why the mayor has singled out 2 commissioners for removal without due process. I'd like to highlight some concerns regarding the mayor's actions toward certain HACA Housing Authority commissioners. I believe her attempts to unjustly remove board members appear to stem from personal grievances, and her methods often bypass due process. I'm going to present a quick timeline of that illustrates my concerns. November 5th, an email sent out by the mayor's office on behalf of the mayor requesting the commissioners to reapply to the Housing Authority in an attempt to vacate the entire board based on personal animosities. December 2nd, another email from the mayor's office sought to force resignations from the commissioners who did not comply with the mayor's illegal reapplication mandate. December 16th, the mayor again attempted to intimidate commissioners into scheduling interviews for reappointment, despite our ongoing tenure and lack of any legal grounds for removal. January 14th, City Council voted to expand the board from 7 to 11 members at the mayor's request, a move that appeared designed to increase her influence on the board. And I will just say, as a commissioner, we welcome those new commissioners. We welcome more resources because we're not getting it from the city. January 15th, a letter from the mayor to 3 commissioners attempted to remove them without any factual basis or due process, raising significant legal and ethical concerns. January 20th, on MLK Day, the mayor forced government offices to open so that the new members can be sworn in the day before there was a closed session at HACA's board. Why would you open up government offices on MLK Day if you weren't trying to sabotage a meeting that was happening next day? It's worth noting that the 3 commissioners that the mayor is targeting for the removal, well, now it's down to 2. We're helping HACA residents, we're the commissioners helping HACA residents during Hurricane Helene when the city failed to act. These commissioners stepped in to provide the support the city should have, demonstrating a commitment to the community that the city neglected. On October 9th, HACA board meeting, when the city...
Thank you. Kim Collins.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, and staff. I am a newly appointed commissioner to the Asheville Housing Authority Board. There's always more to a story. And sometimes that more may be better left unsaid so as to not tarnish legacies and reputations. Since being on the board for this very short time, there has been a lot of things that have come to light, inefficiencies, if you will, that are occurring within Asheville Housing Authorities at the onset of the firing of the executive director. Such things as bills not being paid, lights having to be scrambled and saved from being turned off, computers that haven't been paid for, and having to have conversations with these businesses so that they don't come in and snatch them out and leave everyone high and dry. I am here to serve the community. I am a product of Asheville Housing Authorities and proud of it. I too graduated from Asheville High and matriculated and graduated from the University of North Carolina at Charlotte. I have been on and off this mountain quite some time. And I will say my heart and passion has always been with the people and the citizens of Asheville. My heart and compassion is currently with those who reside in public housing. They deserve the best that the city can provide them. And I think at this present time, that best is not being given. That's basically all I would have to say. This is holding no malice or no ill will towards anyone. This is about making sure that the people and the citizens of the Asheville Housing Authority are served to the best that the city can provide. Thank you.
If everyone could please hold their comments in the audience. Thank you. Daniel Young.
Yeah, to speak on behalf of the housing, Tillman, Reggie, and Butch, I believe that decisions of the mayor is wrong. Whoever you gonna get to replace this, who's gonna be there for our community? Who's gonna be at these funerals with these kids? During the hurricane, Tillman then was in our community. I didn't see the mayor not one time. But you make decisions that could continue to cause harm to our community. I got a shirt on that says stop the violence. If anybody should be removed, it should be you. Because you have not done anything that being special for our community. You've been letting us down. You continue to put people in place for what? To cause more harm to our community. That's all I got to say. You read that.
Thank you. Susan Ellinger.
Good evening, thank you. I really think a lot of the other people here are probably more familiar with the community than I am. I'm an attorney. I was hired to represent the commissioners that had been noticed with removal, and I am just here to ask you to follow the statute. The 157 clearly gives the mayor the right to appoint and gives her the responsibility of removal. The removal statute clearly also says that it must be a meaningful hearing, and that persons have a right to be heard, not in this forum, but in a hearing that is going to be the opportunity to have witnesses, have basic due process. Fundamental fairness is a cornerstone of everything we believe in this country. Due process, the right to be heard, and the right to be decided by an impartial fact finder. For the mayor to be judge, jury, and prosecutor of any kind of removal is, I believe, awkward at best, probably inappropriate, and an abuse of her discretionary powers. HUD points out the role of the Board of Commissioners, and they have many handbooks for the commissioners and what they want commissioners to do. I think these commissioners, I am actually a commissioner of the Raleigh Housing Authority. And we work very hard to make sure that the communities are served, the executive director does his or her job, and that we comply with HUD. Y'all got a lot of big dramas going on here in Western North Carolina, and I hope that just taking just a moment to provide a hearing for these gentlemen would go a long way for the community and a long way for getting the important things done in this city. That's what I would advocate. Thank you.
Keenan Lake.
So, good afternoon, Mayor, City Council, Ms. Campbell. So it's safe to say that I think everybody on this panel knows who I am, knows aware of who I am and what I do. Rather than get caught up in the weeds of what's happening with the board members, it's safe to say that I don't know, and it seems like the rest of the people behind me don't really know either. What I can say is this. I want to talk to the integrity of the men that we're talking about. Primarily, Mr. Tillman Jackson, and both Mr. Robinsons. This is what I can say. Working in our community, in these communities, it needs to be people who are not only respected, but put in the work. Who are not only putting in the work, who have a heart and passion for the community. I don't understand why we're in here fighting for natives who have been raised in these communities to help the community. Again, people who are respected, and this is what I also will say, relationships mean something. Relationships mean a lot, especially when you're talking about the community in which we serve. We're talking about people who can grasp and who can make things happen in these communities where a lot of people can't, who can have things done where a lot of people can't. And so again, we're talking about natives of this community fighting for their community and begging to be basically let back in to their own communities. I don't think that Asheville, North Carolina, especially amidst of what we're dealing with now, should be putting our natives and our people who have blood, sweat, and tears in these communities in this position. I don't come out often, I don't do this often. Today is my birthday, so it was very important for me to be here for the people behind me. And so I appreciate everybody on this panel, but I also would like for you all to make the right decision and do the right thing for the right reasons. Thank you very much.
Dewana Little.
Good evening. I'm standing here as a resident of Asheville plus a previous resident of public housing. And so the dynamics that's playing out here is heartbreaking, honestly. Because like, as I listen to everyone that come up here and everybody's asking for transparency from an elected body. Transparency, that's what everyone has spoke to. Where's the transparency and understanding what is going on? So you could have just cause. I don't know. We don't know. And we here asking for transparency and understanding the dynamics that's playing out. Even the people who are listed in that resolution is asking for transparency and a place to be heard. And their names is direct. That's the I'm sorry, it was the craziest thing I ever seen when I looked at their resolution and seen their names written in there, as if they're a target. That's what it felt like. And I don't live in public housing, but I do a lot of work in public housing and have a lot of family and friends in public housing, and it has played in a role in making me who I am today. And that's the reality. But the leadership, as we talk about this situation that's happening right now, and everyone is asking that just for the right to be heard, for transparency to understand what is happening in the back offices that even put this in the position that it's in, and listening to that timeline, is something that should be considered. If you have this many people showing up to say, this is not right, we don't understand what is happening, that should be heard from people who vote y'all into positions. Like, this is a reality. And this does not just impact them two men, that impacts the public housing residents. But I would also like to ask for a solution while you are reducing the board back down, yet again. I was like, this back and forth, reduce, increase thing is like, it seems messy and it's not transparent, for one. So while we're reducing the board back down, what about the resident seats and the representation from residents of public housing on that board? While we're appointing people to that board, one of those seats that you're planning to reduce is a resident seat. How about adding more residents, recipients, and I want to say recipients because it's more than people that just live in public housing developments. It's also Section 8, it's home ownership. Why not making space for them to have place on that board if we're trying to do something different? How are we doing this and we're not aiming to do something different to change the dynamics of where housing is and get it to a better place for all the residents of public housing? It's, oh, I'm just going to reduce, but what are you going to do to change the dynamics?
Thank you. Chrissy Lytle.
Hello. I am here to speak on the character of the 3 men that we are now reducing the board to, mostly 2. The character of those men I have got to know personally. It doesn't matter what time of night, what time of day, or what is going on in a situation. You can call those men as a community leaders that is going to show up at any time, regardless of what's going on in their lives. When you remove those 2 men of power, of character, of understanding, and as a community leader, you remove the community trust, belief, and honesty. They have someone they can trust in, someone they can see and look up to. But if you remove them from that seat, you remove the understanding as the community and as of men of character. Not only that, you remove a black man, too, that holds power and understanding in our black men in this community. And with that being said, they walk with understanding. They have been where those men have been, and they have walked where they have walked. So you give them people they can trust and hold on to. But if you remove them out of housing, you ask for problems in our cities, in our community. You ask for misunderstood people. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Paul Howell. I know.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, is this thing on?
I don't know.
Hold up, don't start my time yet, Maggie. Hello, testing.
Check, check. Yeah, I don't think ours are on here. Check, check. 1,
They seem to
2.
be all up.
Send them downstairs.
Dan, you can't hear us.
Okay,
he's
I'm gonna
back.
try to talk as loud as I can,
Dan's already back.
so I get free time here while I'm waiting for the green light.
Hey, Paul,
as I
Paul,
said,
wait
Mayor,
a second, because there's other people at home that are watching, and you revealed that they can't hear us.
Yeah,
Thank you.
just
they
give us a
might not
second.
want to hear me.
I want to hear you.
Dan's back there in the corner.
I just texted Logan. Dan, are we?
Hello,
Do you want to see if the microphone in front works? It does have a light on it. You call? Paul?
Okay,
Hello?
they're on now, sorry.
Okay.
It should be working now. No, it's, Kim, I think it's working.
hello,
It should- yeah.
hello.
No.
That's
That
not
one's
on.
This one
one's
just
not
started
on.
working.
Yours isn't working either.
He, Logan is saying everything's fine downstairs.
Okay.
So I think you can
Hello.
go ahead and just. Well, no, Logan's saying that one's picking up.
Oh,
There it is.
There it is.
Check, check.
There we go.
Yeah. Ooh. All right,
All right. Maggie, I think we're good.
we're back.
Okay. Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, City Attorney, City Manager, Assistant City Managers, and as always, the glue that holds everything together up here, Maggie. Okay. Boy, it's always something, man. My thing is this right here. In 1940, when the Housing Authority Board was established, there was 5 members. In 2021, y'all went up to 7 members. In 2025, you went up to 11 members. Now you're going back down to 9. But during this whole time of adjusting the membership of the board, there still has only been 1 resident of housing on this board. I'm wondering how come with all this adjusting on the board that there's no desire to get more people that are in housing management, whatever, on this board. It's hard for me to appreciate people that don't live in housing talking for me, understanding my conditions. Although they might mean well, because many of them have stayed in housing, they might mean well. You don't live in housing now, so you are not addressing my problems. My problem is this right here. My friend and I, she had an event schedule, a couple of events scheduled over in Maple Crest, and she got the approval to use the community space for where she paid the rent at. The people gave her the okay, but they never showed up to the other in the building. They never answered the phone to tell them how come they weren't there to open the building. So on 2 different occasions, we stood outside there waiting for somebody not to come, not to answer the phone. That's my issue. I don't care if that's the Housing Authority Board, the Housing Authority Management, the Housing Authority Site Manager. I don't care. If I'm a resident, I'm a responsible paying resident in these developments, and I want to use the community space that's for the residents, I shouldn't have to go through an act of Congress to do that. I shouldn't have to pay no deposit neither, because you take my rent, so I shouldn't have to pay no deposit. If the place is messed up, I should be responsible enough to clean it up. If not, add it on to my rent like you do my late fees. Like I said, I don't care who it is. Housing Authority Board, if y'all responsible for it, then y'all got issues. Housing Authority Management, if y'all responsible for it, y'all got issues. Housing Authority Site Management, if y'all responsible for it, you got issues. I don't care about nothing but the residents, because I am one of them. So if you're not trying to help us, then you're trying to hurt us. And I don't see nobody right now at this point helping us by not putting more people in housing on this board.
Thank you. All right, council, that is it for public comment under the consent agenda. We do have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Any other questions, comments? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the motion passes unanimously. That concludes the consent agenda. We do have a number of actually we're down to 2 items on our public hearing agenda. We'll just take just a moment in case folks want to move. I'm sorry, we have the manager's report. Sorry, I was looking at the sign-up sheet.
And I-26 connector.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't want to bury the lead.
Presentations.
Okay, we do have, under presentations and reports, we're gonna, before we get to the manager's report, we do have the I-26 connector project update. We'll just give it a second here.
Are we?
Council, thank you. Thank you very much.
I wasn't aware of those kind of things. I think he tested it.
If you use a different process.
Yeah.
Good evening, Council. Jessica Morris, Assistant Director of the Transportation Department. I just wanted to take a minute to do a little introduction before Nathan Moneyham from NCDOT will provide the real presentation. But we wanted to just give you a quick overview of how city staff has been working really closely with DOT well, really for many, many, many years on the I-26 connector project, but over the last 6 to 8 months or so, we've been working with them almost on a daily basis as they get ready to start the I-26 connector project construction. So, as you know, we've been working with DOT on this project for decades, and some really huge milestones have taken place over the last couple of years. NCDOT bid the project back in 2023. and they received bids in 2024, early 2024. Unfortunately, all of the bids at that time came in over estimate and budget, but rather than NCDOT rebidding the project, they went in what I would consider to be a really innovative direction that we called optimization and refinement. And not a very exciting title for it, but what it consisted of was the opportunity for NCDOT to select the contractor that they were going to move forward with, but also work with the city and that contractor hand in hand to go over potential changes to the design that would help the overall project achieve cost savings, so that the project could continue down the path towards construction. So we had an internal team that was comprised of a couple of folks from planning and urban design, as well as a couple of folks from transportation, as well as our both of our assistant city managers. And we worked with DOT and their chosen contractor through this optimization and refinement process, and looked at about 30 to 40 different design changes, which some of those will be highlighted in Mr. Moneyham's presentation. But overall, we're very pleased with the changes that were made. Just to put out front, there were no changes to bicycle and pedestrian connections. There were no changes to the betterments and aesthetic elements that have previously been agreed to by the city and NCDOT. And overall, a lot of the changes resulted in reductions to the footprint of the project, which had some very positive ramifications for things like reducing the overall visual impacts of some of the bridges that are associated with the project, removing and reducing a lot of the larger scale retaining walls that had some kind of negative consequences on some of the adjacent properties. There were reductions in impacts to neighboring properties and neighborhoods. And so I think as a staff, as a city, we've exited the O&R process with NCDOT, very pleased with the changes that have been made, that Mr. Moneyham will go over with you guys in detail. Next steps, the next steps are the design build process, which is going to be many years. And so, recognizing that it's going to be a long-term process, but it's going to be kind of an ongoing process, weekly, where there might be things that come up in the field that will need to be discussed with the project contractor and with NCDOT. We've established a team that's going to be prepared to work with them and respond quickly to changes or questions that may come up. And so it's not just one person or one department that's going to be responsible, but a multi-department team that's already been put in place to work with DOT as this project continues. And so I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Nathan Moneyham.
Okay. Thank you, Jessica. I'm going to cover a lot of the same information, except I have pictures, so hopefully those are helpful. But as Jessica said, I wanted to provide an update to council. I appreciate the time to do so about where we are with the O&R process. It's been months ago that I was here to kind of outline what that process would be. Jessica covered this already, but our general timeline, we started procurement in January of 2023. We had that bid opening. Obviously, those bids were above and beyond our estimated costs. So we entered into this process and created this process of optimization and refinement and started that with Archer Wright joint venture last year in June. And as of January, we have successfully completed that process. Again, just from the DOT perspective, throughout that whole process, we've had significant coordination with local stakeholders, specifically the city of Asheville and city staff. We've had meetings to review many concepts, as Jessica referred to. We've determined priorities in that process. And that coordination really was the critical piece of the success of the O&R process. Throughout this, working with the department, the design build team, and the City of Asheville staff, we were able to collaboratively determine some scope reductions that ultimately met our goals, which was to maintain all the commitments in the FEIS and the ROD, our federal documents, including Burton Street commitments and Hillcrest, and all the environmental commitments that we had made. We maintained the separation of traffic from I-26 and Patton Avenue, which is a major project goal, and all the pedestrian and cyclist connections in the original design were maintained. Obviously, Helene had some impacts. One of the questions that we got a lot over the last several months is what was Helene going to do to the connector project? And obviously, in the aftermath of Helene, coordination efforts were impacted due to our focus at the department and the local city staff. Obviously, our focus shifted to the recovery effort. And while the recovery effort was and continues to be our immediate priority, as a department, we didn't want those long-term transportation needs that I-2513 addresses to be left behind, because they're still critical to this area and to all of western North Carolina. So because of that, our central department staff continued to work on the O&R process with the design build team to complete the process on schedule. And really that was only possible because of the coordination effort that we had, because of the conversations early on in the process we had with city staff, so that the department could make decisions at a time when communication was somewhat limited. So the results of the O&R process is really what I'm here to talk about. Because of the scope reduction, material changes, we did some risk mitigations, ultimately resulted in a successful completion. Overall, the project savings are approximately $125 million. About 63 million of that is in bridges. About 26 million in miscellaneous structures. When I say that, I mainly mean walls, both cut and fill walls. About $25 million in paving and about $7 million in earthwork. And the big great thing about these savings is with these savings, the department is able to move forward with our project on its original schedule, and the funding impacts still have us at an expected completion date in 2031. So this map here, and I've shared this with city staff, they'll be able to, is a picture of the overall area of the project. The colors that you see, the purple there is our original design pre-O&R. The blue is the post-O&R design. So everywhere that you see purple is a reduction of scope and a reduction of impacts. So it's just an overall picture of everywhere that we were able to pull our limits in, both reducing width and overall scope of the project. I'm going to highlight some of those areas. One of the biggest savings is the reduction of bridges. You can see in the picture on the left, across the French Broad River, the I-26 east movement to Patton originally required a structure, I don't know if y'all can see my mouse, that crossed the river here. In our new design, we have eliminated that structure entirely. So we have reduced the number of bridges across the French Broad River from 5 to 4, which is always been something that has been desired to reduce those visual impacts of those bridges, and also led the department to achieve some considerable cost savings. The way we did that is we were able to replace those bridge movements with a loop ramp. So you see the original proposal here, and you see this movement on the right side of the screen is what replaces those bridges. The great thing about this is while removing those bridges reduced impacts to the French Broad River and overall right-of-way, we're able to contain this ramp entirely in the existing footprint of I-26 and I-240, so no additional impacts. Another big change to the bridges across the French Broad is we have reduced their width. This is somewhat maybe not noticeable and may go overlooked, but we did do a significant effort to look at our traffic modeling throughout the entire corridor. And with that, we're able to reduce our laneage wherever we could and still meet the purpose and need of the project. And one significant area that we're able to do that is we've removed one through lane across the bridges that go across the French Broad River. You can see that on the left. We have 3 through lanes here. That has been dropped to 2 on the right, which is significant width reduction to those bridges across the French Broad. There is another set of bridges that was delayed through the O&R process, and that's the bridges at Broadway. You can see on the left, the original proposal involved replacing those bridges. Now, what we have done is deferred that work into a future project. And the existing project that we're pursuing now will use the existing structure of the bridges at Broadway. This is a significant area of focus for O&R because it's one of the areas that the project itself had the most significant impact. Patton Avenue, Hill Street, and our Hillcrest Connector Road. So I'm going to go through several things that we did and then maybe give you an overview of this area of the project. So one of the things we did through O&R is we removed the proposed interchange. That was a connection from 240 to Patton Avenue in this area. You can see it on the left. That has been completely removed from the project on the right. You can see it significantly decreases the footprint of the roadway, allows for more property for future development, which is long been a concern.
Before you go, can I ask,
Yeah.
can I ask a question about this one?
Sure.
Sorry, I haven't seen these. If they're in our slide deck, someone please let me know.
Yeah.
Okay. The new proposal, I just can't remember vividly. Does that change having 2 entry and exit points for Hillcrest?
No. it
Okay,
doesn't.
that's not
and
that
if-
point.
The
No.
different
It's
slide.
farther down. Okay,
And I've got a slide coming up that
Okay.
will look specifically at Hillcrest.
thank you.
These ramps here are specifically focused with interstate access. So we're moving those as a part of the project. Hill Street impact reduction was another area of focus. You can see on the left, because of the interchange ramps and the Hillcrest Connector Bridge, which we'll look at in a second, there's significant grade challenge with Hill Street. And it really had us doing a considerable amount of work in that Hill Street area. We were raising the grade there roughly 25 feet. All of that work has been eliminated. If you see on the right, that existing grade basically means that Hillcrest, or Hill Street, I'm sorry, will remain in its current condition. It is no longer affected.
Can you
by-
confirm when you say that it's eliminated, for some of the other slides you said delayed or deferred to another project, does that mean that this is no longer on a project list?
This is no longer on the project list, so
Thank you.
we've reduced those impacts. The project had significant impacts to Hill Street, and those impacts have been reduced completely. So Hill Street will remain in its current alignment at its current.
So on the left, it showed an additional entrance that was, or would it be an
Proposed, yeah.
proposed? That roundabout?
That roundabout, and I can go ahead and just get there, if that's helpful.
So now it's gonna be the, yeah.
So as a part of that, we did examine and look at the impacts to what we call the Hillcrest Connector Road. You can see on the left, that's the original design. And it had a roundabout on the Hillcrest side of I-240, and then had a separate pedestrian structure that was closer to the existing entrance in the Atkins Street Bridge. That design had significant grade impacts. If you look here, this dark black line across the back side of this roundabout is a wall of significant height. So visually, there were significant impacts to the Hillcrest apartments. Just from a grade perspective, we were building up significantly above there. So one of the things we focused on was trying to use the existing grades of the area where we could. And to do that, we slid the bridge up closer to the alignment of the existing bridge. All of the connections are still there. You're still able to access Patton directly, as you see here, and Riverside Drive directly, and Hill Street directly. So all the connections are maintained. We've widened this structure to accommodate all the pedestrian movements with the multi-use path on the structure itself, and still included the greenway on the opposite side where we could really reduce the grade impact. The other big thing that you'll notice about this, and we'll get to some visualizations in a minute, is it really allows us to stick to the existing grade throughout this area and not be putting any significant amount of fill in front of the apartments. Any questions with that one? I've got another picture.
So the
here.
net change for the entrances to Hillcrest, it's still, in the old version, it was one entrance exit, and in the new version, it's one entrance exit.
Correct.
It just moved, it's just maintained at the current, that's what it
Yes.
looks like to me.
And this is a zoomed out picture, so you can see all of it. But yeah, we've slid it back, and you can see here, this black and white stripe is the existing bridge. So it's generally in the same location. And really, it's just utilizing the existing grades in that area to reduce the structure cost and reduce the amount of fill that has to be placed along this area.
I guess my curiosity is, over the years, a significant amount of input and engagement was done with the Burton Street community, Hillcrest, and Montford, Stumptown, that were all impacted by the previous highway projects. What does it look like to follow up with them? Are there going to be neighborhood meetings? When will neighbors, businesses, property owners get confirmation on if there's a permanent change or a temporary change?
So from a federal perspective, all those commitments are still upheld. So we will not be going back through and redoing any of those community outreach processes. But we do intend, and we'll talk about next steps, to go back out publicly with these plans and these designs, to have a public update, and offer a time period where folks can come, look, ask questions about the final design of the project. And we intend to schedule that in the next month, maybe next month.
While we're on this topic, where are we at with the Burton Street community being reconnected with this project? Is that still happening?
All the commitments to Burton Street are still intact.
Okay, thank you.
This is just a zoomed out picture of, and again, I was trying to highlight specific. All of that really works together to the new design for this area of the project. Greatly reduces, again, the impacts to the Hillcrest apartments, to Hill Street, and to Patton Avenue, while maintaining all the connections that were in the original design. Again, just for helpful, to kind of give you a visualization of what that is, we're still working on some more of these, but I do have a couple ready to share, visualizations of the project in the new area. You can see, again, Hill Street remains basically unaffected. You can see the ramp there in the top corner coming down from the new pedestrian bridge. Hill Street, from an elevation standpoint, remains intact, and the significant wall that was here has been removed in front of the Hillcrest apartments. You can also see in this picture the connection down to Riverside Drive and across to Hill Street and the roundabout. Gives you also a look at the Bowen bridges in this area. This visualization is a little more focused on the bridges across the river. You can see again that structure is completely removed. Gives you an idea of height-wise, the reductions we were able to make, and width. You can also see that loop ramp up here on the right, and the connections, again, that were maintained on the 240 side of the project. So next steps, we will be doing additional outreach. The effort for us right now is to update our project website to reflect all these new changes and scopes so that the public can start looking at that information. We are working towards scheduling a public update meeting to be scheduled in the coming months. We're working on that date to be able to share these designs so that folks can get a good representation of the final product. And now that the O&R process is complete and we have reached an agreement with the design build team, design work on the project will commence. It's important to note, again, these plans that we're looking at even today are still 25-30%. We've got a long way to go. And in that process, continued coordination with local stakeholders, including the City of Asheville staff, will continue as we work towards final design. And then we're continuing to evaluate construction phasing and work zone traffic control for additional time and cost savings as we move forward. And just generally a project schedule, with this complete, our next steps really move into right-of-way acquisition as design starts to get completed. That will begin estimated fall of this year, with utility relocation beginning in spring of 2026 and construction fall of 2026, roughly about 18 months from now. I thank you for the time. I can slide back to any of those other plan sheets if there's specific questions from council.
I have I guess a process after saying thank you for being here and giving us this update, and the pictures really help. Because so many people in our community have advocated for betterments and improvements and mitigation, and so many times we heard, wait for design build, and then you'll be able to see hopefully some improvements. A reduced footprint is anticipated to have positive impact on the human impact, but also on our ecosystem impact. But it would help, I think, if we had some way to touch back on this. Is there a potential to bring it back to the aesthetics committee, or some more conversation at the MPO? I know that you mentioned there will be a release of information, but not everyone loves looking at DOT maps as much as I do on the internet.
I think as far as our rollout of this in the next couple of weeks, I'm presenting at the MPO this week and at the board next week, maybe a little more in depth than this on some specific areas of the project. We'll also be leaning pretty heavily on city staff, like as we have been. All the aesthetic guidelines that were in place are still intact. There will be submittals that will be coming from the contractor that we'll be submitting to city staff to review with that. But our main interaction, again, would be with city staff on those from the aesthetic elements. But again, the guidelines that are in place that took all that coordination to come up with those documents, what we'll look to do is really apply those things that have been decided as we move forward in design.
Thank you.
My only complaint is the maps shift their orientation, and I have to figure out where I am every single time. So now Hillcrest looks like it's on the, anyway, that one's really hard to look at. 'Cause I think it's
Yeah, I apologize for
that. So, any other questions?
Just thanks for keeping us updated. I think the reduction in space is a good outcome. I'm also really thankful and not surprised that the agreements that we've worked hard on have been maintained in ONR. I definitely heard a lot of community members just worried, just as they're worried when any government process updates a plan that took a lot of community planning. So seeing really essential parts of what the community vision was maintained in this process is really important to our partnership, and glad to see that.
Thank you.
When do you think it'll all be done? Everything's done, like, that's it.
2031.
2031.
Now, obviously, there are delays that happen, but our schedule is 2031.
And the floods and lean cause no greater delays?
We have, and this is again the local perspective, and our division department is we are adamant, that this project did not lose any of its critical nature because of the hurricane. So we are adamant and continuing to push to hold our original schedule. And feel confident that we're going to be able to do that.
And Mayor, if I could, I just wanted to thank NCDOT and in particular Nathan and the transportation staff for all the collaboration and the work and meetings, and they listened. And we appreciate all of the conversations and the willingness to hear the concerns of our community and our staff, and so I just wanted to thank them.
Yes, I would echo that. I mean, I know transportation projects around the state can become really controversial, and you're stepping into that. So we appreciate the navigation that's happened here and where we've landed. I think this was like the hot topic when I first ran for office in 2009. So I know it's been a long, I think it's been a long process. So
yeah, and we're excited about it, grateful for the city's partnership in this, and I think ultimately what the past 6 months have given us is ultimately a better project that we can deliver on the schedule that we are all hoping for.
Thanks. Okay, all right.
Could I ask one more question, sir?
Sure.
Tell me about if there's been any changes to the Patton Avenue entrance, the gateway to our city, in this process?
As far as aesthetically,
Or just in general, the O&R process, you went through a series of adjustments. Was there anything as we get into town?
so there are some adjustments that have been made from a material standpoint to the Bowen bridges specifically.
Okay.
I don't think this will be noticeable, but we changed the concrete deck overlay material type to save some money there. The biggest probably noticeable change from the O&R process would be we did eliminate some work to the interior rails of the Bowen bridges. Originally, those were included in the project to be replaced, but we'll be retaining those. The outer parts of the Bowen bridges, which you can probably see a little better in this, will still be replaced with aesthetic rails and the planters and all of those things that were committed to in the aesthetics documents are retained, but the inside rail for the barrier protection for vehicles will be the existing barrier that's out there now.
Okay.
Will be retained.
And the design speed of that alignment?
So yeah, that's the other thing. We have reduced the design speed as per the request from council.
Great, thank you. Yeah, that just makes a big difference, you know. Again, it's the front door that a lot of people take into our community, and
Correct.
so making that more human-centered so that the speed's just slow, we improve safety, and that was a real direct response the last couple of times we had conversations, so really thankful.
Sure. And out of all the 40 ideas that we did, we're looking at 5 or 6 here in somewhat detail, but there's a lot that never got off the ground because we didn't agree. And one of those was Patton Avenue, and I think what we've finally come up with, and even in coordination with Patton Avenue study and all those things, is a design for Patton that fits well within the city's long-term plans.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Nathan.
And now, manager's report.
So,
Manager's report.
good evening, and thank you, Mayor. We have 2 items for the manager's report. We have 2 employee recognitions and an update on a new team that's been formed to expedite review and approval of development projects that are proposed for new construction and our rehab in our floodplain areas. So Clay Mitchell is going to provide that update in terms of our FAST team, but I will be covering the employee recognitions. And first, if you can go to the next slide, is this one is kind of hard because in response to Tropical Storm Helene, we had a lot of employees that were doing some extraordinary things in terms of courage, compassion, commitment, both during and after the emergency. So I want to acknowledge and honor all of those employees. But we specifically had a request from a resident, Ms. Kay Williams, who wanted us to provide special recognition to some employees in our Water Resources Department. And tonight, we're going to honor and recognize them for their outstanding public service. But Ms. Kay really wanted to be here tonight to say thank you, but unfortunately, she is not feeling well, and she communicated with us this morning that she would not be here. But if you gentlemen, would you all introduce yourselves, and then I will try as best I can to tell about your heroic efforts.
I'm Judd Bledsoe. I'm the supervisor of the William DeBrule Water Treatment Plant.
Okay, thank you. Next.
I'm Levi Soulsby. I'm the 3rd shift operator at the William DeBrule Water Plant.
I'm Oliver Burns, 1st shift operator at the same plant.
And I'm Justin Ross, the lead plant mechanic at North Fork.
I'm not driving. She's driving. So in terms of the purpose for the recognition. So Justin Rice began his day on September 27th at Norfolk, providing vital information to first responders and helped assess conditions at the plant and throughout the water distribution system. In the storm's immediate aftermath, Justin and Judd Bledsoe evacuated water resources employees, Oliver Burns and Levi Salisbury, from DeBrule Water Treatment Plant. You all help with your own employees in terms of kind of rescuing them. Justin, Judd, Oliver, Levi then worked together to help evacuate several Bee Tree residents and their pets, including Ms. Kay Williams. Justin provided the first descriptions of the catastrophic damage Helene caused water production and distribution systems. As the liaison between water resources and private contractors, Justin was instrumental in restoring water service. His extensive knowledge and unshakable demeanor have been invaluable as water resources rebuilt and continue to maintain systems that serve almost 160,000 customers. Next slide, please. Now, to show you the extent of this damage, particularly in Bee Tree, these pictures were actually taken by Ms. Kay and shared with us while water resources staff were evacuating her and several other residents in the aftermath of Helene. Next slide, please. So this fellow that you see with his back turned to us, that is Mr. Justin Rice, who is among the water resources employees that obviously that we are recognizing tonight. But you can see the devastation. I just want to say thank you for all that you do every day, but in particular when we have these kinds of catastrophic events, you go above and beyond expectations. So if you all would join me in thanking them. And the Director of Water Resources Department, David Melton, is also in attendance.
Thank you, David.
Do we have another staff member that was here? Thank you all again. And so, next slide, please. Our next acknowledgement is for someone who we already acknowledge. But because the people who are presenting Ms. McDowell the Jack Voigt Award wasn't here, they wanted to come and do it. And I see that we have Tony here, and is Heather available? All right. So Heather, you want to come up and?
Hello, Mayor and Council. My name is Heather Curry, and I'm here tonight in my capacity as the past president of the North Carolina Local Government Budget Association. Each year, the North Carolina Local Government Budget Association honors one professional in our field with the Jack Vogt Lifetime Achievement Award. To be eligible, an individual must have at least 10 years of experience in local government budgeting or evaluation and demonstrate commitment to the field, to ongoing professional development and growth, to innovation, and to mentoring others in the field. This year, we are pleased to honor Asheville's Tony McDowell. During his nearly 30 years serving the city, all of them in budget and finance, Tony has developed a reputation for being calm under pressure, seeking creative solutions, and mentoring those around him. City colleagues described him as the heart of the team and an approachable and kind leader who has helped our organization navigate challenging economic and political circumstances while also prioritizing the financial health and integrity of the city. Beyond Asheville, Tony has a well-earned reputation among other government budget colleagues statewide for being a committed public servant and someone they can turn to when seeking creative solutions to intractable problems. He and his staff have been frequent volunteers and presenters at professional conferences, and his advice is often sought by others due to his down-to-earth demeanor and years of experience leading through times of prosperity, transition, and challenge. We are grateful for his impact on our profession and are pleased to present Tony with this award. Thank you.
It's kind of very rare that we have an employee recognition and he gets a do-over. And so we really, really appreciate all that you do, Tony, for this community and for the profession. So thank you for your service.
Yeah, well, thank you, Ms. Campbell, and thank Heather, and thanks to the board. And it feels like the honor that keeps on giving. So I know we talked about this a couple months ago when I was up here. So thanks, everybody, and I'll see you all on Friday.
Tony, thank you. It's hard to go after the people that saved other people, but you saved our budget, so you're saving next year.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you so much, Tony. All right, so now we're going to ask Mr. Clay Mitchell to come up and talk about the FAST team.
Still getting used to this.
They look great.
Mayor, councilors, I'm going to talk to you about the FAST team. Great story that we just heard. We've all been through what happened in Helene. For me, the first 3 weeks after the storm, I drove a truck that I had no business driving, delivering water to people all over the city. I didn't even know Ford made an F-550. That was my way of kind of working through my own trauma of what was happening and making sure that I woke up every day and did something about it. There was a lull after that once we started getting back to work. But then it became evident to everybody that was involved that there was an incredible amount of confusion and uncertainty as we get into the nitty-gritty details of rebuilding and deciding what to do and administering regulations that were sometimes even in conflict, and even understanding the terminology that was being used in the regulatory side as well as in people dealing with the loss of buildings, businesses, and the physical change of land. It came to us, or it came to me in the beginning of January to be offered the opportunity to coordinate a group that was going to be responsible for providing outreach and support and navigate this complexity. And the only way that that was going to be structured was creating a new group of people across multiple departments. Our mission, the first thing that was said, and the thing that really attracted me to the opportunity to be the coordinator for this team, was directly from the city manager's office, and I assume the council as well, is that it was time for empathy and responsiveness. We were tasked with rapid and honest communication and availability at every step of the way for people who were going through the decisions of what to do with their property and their businesses that were impacted by Helene. The administration team was a team of directors, the Department of Public Works, Amy Dayton, Derek Wainscott, the Director of Stormwater, Mark Matheny from Development Services, and my own director, Stephanie Munson-Dahl, guided from the City Manager's office by Ben Woody. The interdepartmental representation included members of multiple departments that I want to go over and acknowledge, but the details of that included a dedicated email that we are now responding to a web presence which has appeared on the city and which will be constantly changing with new resources as we find them and make them available to our residents and professionals who are supporting them, as well as a structured schedule of opportunities to meet with building owners and professionals, as well as internally for the team. We've discovered early on that in addition to supporting all the property owners and people who are trying to pull permits and find out what's going on, internally, we had to provide support to staff that are now burdened with an incredible influx of complexity and permits. And so our job is both out front as well as inside and working with these people. The members of the core team that are providing this service are Derek Wayne Scott of Stormwater, Nancy Watford, who is currently serving as a consultant for our stormwater, but I believe it's not a secret that she's coming back to employment of the city as of Monday, the 17th. In the Permanent Application Center, Ashley Stanley. In Building Inspection, Charles Redmond. In Building Plan Review, Sam Beck, who's being assisted by Tim Tyne and Lindsay Huff. And in my own department, Marie Taylor and Grania Miser. We also have support from the fire department and Amy Pollard, and from historic, because a lot of our historic buildings were impacted, Alex Cole and Sam Starbound to help navigate the new process for historic buildings who can get a variance. So what were our tasks and responsibilities? The first task is to work with a set of permits that were on hold, and I'll get to those in a second. We are tasked with notifying property owners of FEMA requirements and this term substantial damage estimates, which has created a lot of confusion. We all have to have a knowledge of the permitting process. We have to be there. We have to be able to respond quickly and carefully to people's concerns. We hold weekly meetings. We attend weekly meetings with property owners and professionals who want to meet with us. We are tracking and recording our progress. And we are also, after the fact, following these meetings, going to be supporting the permitting process for both city staff as well as property owners to make sure that the navigation of that system is effective and coherent. January 13th is the first entry on my calendar for an official date related to this effort. During that time, the team was created, the plan was laid out, we started scheduling meetings, we created a structure for internal data management, and we didn't actually publish the public web portal. Our formal rollout was on January 21st. We had our first fast session meeting on January 21st at 1 p.m. Our primary initial task were the 83 permits that were on hold and was starting to find its way into the public discourse. Of those 83 permits, since that January 21st date, 37 of those permits have been reviewed, issued, and cleared for release. 31 permits, we have held meetings associated with those and are getting the process started, working with the landowners or the professionals that are working with them, and they are updating us with information that will allow those permits to get issued. There are 8 permits that are of concern with substantial damage, and we will be working directly with the landowners, and we have still only 7 permits that are left on hold awaiting updates. Since the rollout on January 21st, we've had 25 meetings with property and building owners related to questions about FEMA, opportunities for grant funding, even issues related to debris removal, as well as safety and security of the sites. We've had 15 permit-related fast sessions, some of those overlap a little bit, where we are able to take property owners who have already made a decision about their recovery and help them navigate through the permit process. So it was, the acronym was a challenge for us, and I think we're going to rise to that challenge. It is kind of, it's a goofy government acronym, but we try to respond quickly and fastly and effectively, and I feel now I stand before you with a pretty positive report on the ability of this team to do it. The city manager asked me a very challenging question in preparing for this, and it was like, why me? Why am I doing this? And I think that when Stephanie brought this to me, I rise to these kinds of big challenges that are messy problems. And it allows me to kind of, again, navigate my own response to what has happened. The next Helene-related task I had was the FEMA assessments in the area from the Lowe's to the eastern edge of the city of Asheville. And there's only so much of that you can take. Walking around, going onto properties, and trying to figure out where you are when there's no building there anymore. And so to be able to do this is, I guess, in a self-centered kind of way, it's a meaningful response to what has happened. And my leadership style, to the extent that I'm a leader, I like to call myself the coordinator, is supportive. And so while I'm the one standing up here talking about this, it's really the team of people that have been put together by the directors that is making this effective. And so that's where we are today.
Thank you so much, Clay.
I like that it's called FAST.
The other acronym was not good. The flood assistance team did not work.
Right.
FAST. We were able to add that supportive component to it.
And so this concludes the city manager's report, but when I do my briefings, I always start with thanking the community, thanking staff, and I would always want to end. Thank you for taking that off the slide. I wanted to thank
Maggie, she's one step ahead of you.
City of Asheville and staff. Thank you very much.
Deborah, we want to thank you, too.
Don't forget yourself.
You're always thanking everybody. You do a good job of that, but thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. Well received.
Well, I was just going to say, Clay, you really put your heart into that presentation. And I think it's exemplary of the people that work for this organization. I saw it when everyone, even on their days off, there were no days off. Everybody was in here all the time. Everybody was bringing all their skills. And we have a lot of folks with a lot of layers of skilled and experience, but there's not a lack of passion. And so thank you for representing the city so well and presenting the work. I am a little curious about the word fast in relation to government. May it be so.
That's definitely intentional.
That's right. Okay, we are ready for the public hearings portion of our agenda. Council, the first three items, A1, 2, and 3, we need separate motions to continue each of those items until March 11th. So do I have a motion to move item A1 to March 11, 2025?
So moved. Sage.
All right, I have a motion by Sage, a second by the Vice Mayor. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, do I have a motion to move item A2 from you, Sage?
So
to
moved.
March 11th? Vice Mayor?
Second.
Second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And then finally, item A3 to March 11th.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. So we will now go on to public hearing item B, which is public hearing previously held, so we don't actually have a public hearing, which is a vote to consider an amendment to the Unified Development Ordinance to revise the cottage development standards. Maggie wrote a note in here that I'm just supposed to ask for a vote. She's hopeful that we won't discuss this at all, and we'll go right to it. This one is also tied to item C, but we do have to take these one at a time. This is a resident-initiated zoning amendment change that I think you all are familiar with. We don't because it is a resident-initiated change, staff is not presenting on this item, and there's not I don't think there's a presentation.
No.
There's not attached one to our agenda.
We do have two public comments, though.
Anybody, there is one. There is a document attached to it. I'm sorry. Oh, the staff report.
Wait, how do we have a public comment?
We can't, you know what? Everybody good with having public comment?
There's a couple.
Yeah, there's a couple. Did we get?
I had advised them that public hearing was already held, and I was not sure if public comment would be accepted again, but I said go ahead and put it down just in case.
Yeah, okay.
Can we do it maybe
I
after a motion?
have so many tabs open that I
Maybe we
can't
need to
find the
look at
public
it.
comment. So, hold
Because
on.
the neighborhood was told they couldn't comment.
Oh, that's a problem. Okay.
We have neighborhood reps we could ask people to sign up for comment. I'd be glad to hear from everybody who's interested.
I'm apparently not able to navigate to the public comment page.
Here you go.
So
We've
just,
got Nina and Matt, Nina Tovish and Matt Allen.
okay, so if council's willing to hear public comment on this item, then why don't we go ahead and have public comment? Is there anybody left in the overflow room? I can't imagine there is. Okay.
Oh, Nina has removed herself. It's just Matt now.
You're gonna have to keep me up on that because I can't.
Just Matt Allen. Matt's here. I saw him.
Okay, but if people did not sign up because they were thinking there wasn't public comment and you are here and you want to speak, then you should feel free to sign up to speak. Or we could just do it the old-fashioned way and you could raise your hand. So, yeah, there's some, okay, so there's,
Just Matt. Matt's the only one right now.
okay, let's do the one person who's on there.
Matt Allen.
I'm sorry.
It's
Matt
Sophie,
Allen.
Sophie and Norma.
And then, yes, and Mr. Allen, you know, you get 3 minutes to speak, and please watch the lights on the lectern.
Mayor, excuse me, just for the record, could you officially reopen the public
I am
hearing?
officially reopening the public hearing.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to speak again. My name's Matt Allen. I work for the Realtor Association in Government Affairs, Professional Development. We have about 2,000 members. Most of them live and work in Buncombe County, and many of those live and work in Asheville. And I'm here to speak tonight, again, in support of both proposals. I know this is just the cottage courts, but do view them as kind of living together, and so speaking in support of both. And yeah, I actually want to start by the North Carolina Realtor Association, the NC Chamber, and the NC Home Builders just released a study, like last week, on housing supply gap and economic impact report. Bowen did the housing gap analysis, and a gentleman at NC State did the economic impact analysis. Just want to read a couple of these for you. 0.8% is the overall for sale availability rate in North Carolina. Should be more like 3% to be in the range of a healthy market. Only 9 counties have a median list price of under $200,000. Obviously, Buncombe is not one of those 9 counties. 765,000 housing units is the gap for 2024 to 2029. 442,000 are for sale, 322,000 is the rental inventory gap. And then finally, on economic impact, $489 billion could be generated if we closed that gap, creating nearly 2.2 million jobs. So I'm here to say that we need to do something to address this housing shortage. There's no perfect solution. Barry, I think, brought this about 2 years ago. The realtors got involved about 1.5 years ago. There's always going to be drawbacks. There's no perfect solution, but that shouldn't stop us from doing something. We, of course, need state-level fixes. There's a lot of interesting things that are being done around the country, the state level, and I hope we'll see that soon in North Carolina. But we can also act on a local level, and we can start tonight. I know this has been delayed because of the missing middle housing study, because of talks of doing protective overlays for certain legacy neighborhoods. Those are very important discussions, not minimizing the importance of those discussions at all. We're very supportive of the missing middle work, looking forward to those public hearings that have been delayed to March, very supportive of that as well. But we can work on those issues after passing this. They're not mutually exclusive. So in closing, I just want to say this can be a very important tool for us.
Thank
and
you.
for those reasons, I ask that you pass both
Thank you.
items up for review. Thank you.
Okay, now just go ahead and raise your hand. Yes.
Oh, you can't see?
I can sort of, yes, I can mostly see.
Probably makes it better when people are being nasty to you.
It is, actually helps. Not to put it on. Oh,
Good
please,
evening.
everyone, you know what, first of all, just take that microphone and pull it down towards you. And then also, if everyone could state their name so that Maggie, our city clerk, can put your name in the record.
Maybe I should give a fake name. I think she already knows. My name is Sophie Dixon. I'm president of the Shiloh Community Association. It just happened that I have on my Shiloh shirt tonight. Wasn't expecting everybody to see that, but I'm proud of it. And for that reason, I'm here. And I've been here and been here and been here, and I'm back. And I'm not going anywhere. Now, we've said loud and clear where we stand, and I don't think there's any question about it. And we're not going to get dumped on, and so the flag lots and all of that stuff that's trying to be pushed into our community, we're going to go down and fight against it. And so we're just letting you know that. We're not changing. And I think I bought 2 or 3 that came out in the rain tonight to prove that. So I'm going to let them have the rest of the time, but hear me loud and clear. I'm not going anywhere.
Thank you very much, Ms. Dixon. All right, anyone else? Yes, please.
Paul Heathman. I didn't know we could speak tonight, so thanks. I won't take long, but most of you know I'm in support of this, have been for a long time, both of them. I'm a assistant vice president at Home Trust Bank, working mortgage and real estate before that. I'm the associate vice president of the Builders Association of the Blue Ridge Mountains and an active member of the Land of the Sky Association of Realtors. I'm also an advisor to you on affordable housing policy. And I broaden that in this case to just housing policy in general. We've had lots and lots of conversations about this. We really believe this is the best thing for our community. We look through all those lenses. The health of my community is very important to me. I've been here for a really long time and I love this city. So please give us 2 thumbs up tonight. Thanks.
Thanks. Anybody else? Yes.
Jared Wheatley, good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council. What I'd like to say is that order of operations matter. So the folks who came here to speak tonight on both sides are, I would say both sides are right. The neighborhoods are looking for additional engagement and cultural awareness of their communities. And I think that's super important. And the real estate agents who came and developers who want to develop housing are also right. We need housing. However, I think taking a moment to honor the culture and the neighborhoods and ensuring that the protections that we've all committed to be focused on, that those have the chance to be in place prior to the ordinance amendments are important. And the ordinance amendments can still happen. Staff and Planning and Zoning Commission can push those forward immediately once the protection anti-displacement measures are in place. This, whether you vote yes or no tonight, it matters as far as order of operations, but that doesn't mean cottage clusters or flag lots can't come back as an amendment once we meet the commitment to take care of our neighborhoods. So that's just one little thought. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
One more.
Yes.
See, it kind of looked like he was raising his hand in my eyes. Just
Oh.
kind of smushed it.
Jeez.
I'm not that blind.
I am.
They're both wearing.
Good evening to the mayor and the vice mayor and the council. My name is Norma Baines. I am the liaison for the Shiloh Community Association. As you know, the 2025 plan for Shiloh was adopted September the 14th, 2010. And what I'm understanding, there's some questions about the overlay district, and it's all mapped out in our 2025 plan. We do not want cottage houses, and we do not want the things that they are asking for. We want to make sure that we go by our 2025 plan that you adopted for us, and that we complete it. We're trying to do everything, and we have worked very hard over the years to accomplish the things that's in the 25 plan. We also are in the process of getting our resource center, as you know. We've worked very hard to do that. And we have worked very hard to keep our community intact. So we ask the city to please look at our 25 plan again, see what's in it, help us with the overlay, and help us now to have cottage homes and some of the other things that the city wants to put in there. Okay? Thank you very much.
Yes.
This is the Shiloh plan.
Kimberly Collins. I was gonna make this quick, but I just want to add just a little ditty. Every time I look around, our neighborhoods are being gentrified and colonized. And when they go to do all this planning and to provide homes, yes, we need homes in Asheville, we need affordable homes. But when they speak of affordable home ownership, they're not speaking to the Black community. They're speaking to the white community, namely people who were not born or raised here in Asheville, North Carolina, but those who are coming from outside. I am just asking you all to listen to these legacy communities, because we're here. I am a part of a legacy community. I live in East End. I'm not going anywhere. My property will have to die out with my son's grandchildren, okay? We need to try to do everything we can to preserve properties for our people. So all I'm asking is just listen to these legacy communities, East End, Shiloh, Southside. Listen to them. And on that note, my short was East End concurs with Shiloh. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? This would be it. This would be the time.
Hey, y'all. So I'm Barry Bialik. I've put this petition forward. Chaired your Affordable Housing Committee for 6 years, built about 300 houses in town, and there's nothing fast about this process. Like 2 years ago, I applied for this while I was still chair of your committee, trying to figure out the best possible way for how we can create more housing. And this is kind of the balance of mixing zoning and infrastructure and simple paths that that make it more approachable. The whole idea is, how do we make building more houses approachable to many people, to the individual property owner, to the small builder, so it doesn't take developers to create housing for us in town. So that was like the purpose of all this. And I'm as frustrated as you that we don't have this overlay in place or something in place, because the first time, we've been here 4 times in front of council, and the first time was pretty much like, create the overlay, create the overlay, create the overlay. So here we are, and it's not done, but you know what? We gotta do something. We gotta do something. And this is kind of something, we're 2 years into this. We have the rules written up. These are really minor changes. We're not creating any new rule. All we're doing is we're taking a tool that already exists in code and says, how do we take a double lot and how can we make it into 2, and what's stopping it? So there's nothing new, there's no increased density. This only works when the density is already allowed. So that's the piece of it. So one of the things, and I want to bring up, because we've also, knowing that the overlay is not in place and how important that is to every one of you, we've tried to look at alternative ways. We've looked at, do we exclude RS zoning? Because most of legacy neighborhoods are RS zoning. Do we pass this with RM? Or do we refer to the existing maps that are already in the zoning overlay? Do we pass this tonight and exclude some and maybe just include certain neighborhoods. It's really important we do something, especially after like Helene, like where we had a housing shortage before, we're now in desperate crisis mode. And I ask your help to like, please give us some hope. Please pass something. We need a little help here. And that comes from the homeowners, the individuals, the renters, and those of us who care so much, who are doing everything we can to build the housing in here, to build the housing in town, we need a little help. So tonight's your chance. So thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you.
One more. Two more.
Uh-oh. Now it's like open mic.
Yeah. Freestyle and all that good stuff. I just got a quick thing to say. Being here in Asheville, being this is Black History Month, the whole 28 days of the month, hasn't enough been taken from the black community here in Asheville? I mean, every black community. I heard Sister Kim call out 3 legacies. I remember growing up, it used to be about 5 or 6 that you could consider legacy neighborhoods around here for the black community. So I'm just asking, just a little small little thing here, the city council, to keep us in consideration when y'all doing all this, granting permission to do this building or whatever, all that stuff. Think about us still, because we still here. As much as people might want us to go away, we still here, and we still fighting. We don't have much left here, but if y'all act right, we can get some stuff reestablished. Like maybe some black businesses downtown. Because with the closing of the block and taking of it, all of our black businesses disappeared. So let's think about doing some stuff like that. I don't hear nobody talking about stuff like that, but that would be a good idea. Let's help the black people get back on their feet in Asheville, Buncombe County. Let's not continue to take from them. They've lost everything. That's all.
Thank you. Okay.
Good evening. I actually was trying not to talk. To the mayor, to the vice mayor, to Ms. Campbell, the city manager, and to all of the other council members. I am Renee White. I am the president of the East End Valley Street Neighborhood Association, and I am also a part of the Legacy Neighborhoods. And to mention, we have Burton Street also included, Southside, Shiloh, East End, and we do have some active members of Emma who are part of our legacy. And, you know, really, when I come before council, I'd like to come sometime to be able to say some good things. But I'm coming tonight to say this to you. We have continuously asked to be at the table when these type of decisions and planning is being made. We've asked that you contact us, that we be able to sit down, have conversations about these type of issues, and let us be included from the beginning. And we seem to miss this. Somewhere there seems to be some miscommunication. Because every time we turn around, there's a lot of planning that's gone on. When it gets out to our neighborhoods, it's already what's going to be done, and we don't know a thing about it. So there's breakdown in communication between these legacy neighborhoods and the city. And that really needs to stop, because if that stops, then we don't have to come into council every time we turn around with these type of issues. We need overlays in our legacy neighborhoods. Charlotte Street Corridor has an overlay. I think Montfort Avenue, there's some overlay. And our legacy neighborhoods need some type of protection that we should be able to have overlays also. Why are we being ignored? Why is that not important for our legacy neighborhoods when it really is? And so I'm asking you to think about these things when you're planning and when these type of issues are coming up. Don't leave us out, because this is what you're gonna get. We're coming. And like Miss Sophie said earlier from Shiloh, we're not going anywhere. And y'all know I'm not going anywhere. And you all also know that I will come to this council meeting and fight for these neighborhoods with every tooth and nail that I have. So please consider us. And don't have us coming up here every time we turn around begging for communication. That's absolutely ridiculous. The city should be willing to communicate with us from the very beginning, and we don't have to come here and say these type of things. So please consider overlays for our legacy neighborhoods. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm David Moritz, and as you know, I'm very much into getting more housing in the city. My thing is mostly about getting housing on the corridors like Merriman and Hendersonville Road. And but listening here, obviously there's some concern about the change in zoning, and I think there's some validity to that because of the discrepancy in the underlying zoning. So I, for example, live in North Asheville, and the zoning there somewhat precludes an impact from this change because my zoning, for example, is RS2, which require lots to be as big as a half an acre. So much of the impact of this is actually going to fall on the neighborhoods that have RS4 or RS8. And I think that mathematical fact is one of the reasons you're seeing resistance from the communities that will be most affected by it because of the underlying zoning. So I think if, in fairness, if this was going to be spread fairly, then the zoning should be more consistent throughout the city. And I know that we as a city often speak about creating affordable housing, like with the missing middle, but unfortunately, many of these policies will be more implemented in some of these neighborhoods because places like North Asheville have been designed to be exclusive. So we talk a lot about having affordable housing, and our regulation, unfortunately, doesn't meet that stated goal. So if our goal was, for example, that we want an exclusive neighborhood in North Asheville, our regulations have achieved that goal. And if that's what our goal is, then let's say it. Let's be consistent in our language that we use that's reflected in the policies we pass. But if we're saying that we want neighborhoods that are open to all, then our regulations should reflect that. And either we downzone the neighborhoods that we want to protect, or we upzone neighborhoods that we want to be more exclusive, like North Asheville. Because unfortunately, this kind of policy, even though I'm somewhat in favor of more housing, I think the discrepancy in how it affects our different neighborhoods is something that needs to be understood, and that's why I think people are saying that maybe the overlays are something that should be studied more closely before we create policies that might have unintended consequences, as well intentioned as they may be. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else just filling it? Not? Okay, we're closing the second time we did public comment on this. It could have been more, actually.
Several, I think.
Lost track. Council, so we have this proposal, I think the first one is,
I have I can read the motion for
Cottage.
B if you want. I have one right here.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. We have been all discussing an alternative motion. If you want to, do you need to read that one, or are you? We've been discussing as a council. I know I've spoken with all of my colleagues in the last couple days. Some of the concerns we've had in whether it's an overlay, a protection district, a historic, whatever the name is, but somehow to protect these neighborhoods from some of the changes to the ordinances and growth patterns that we're seeing introduced by this resident-led initiative. I'll say some of this also carries over into the stuff we've postponed till March. There is, I think, a majority support from this council to have some kind of protective measure for these, what we're calling legacy neighborhoods. How to get there and at what rate of speed seems to be the problem. Meanwhile, we have a housing crisis. We've had a housing crisis, but the disaster has exacerbated it. And we have been told already that this disaster that we've all encountered together will have, I think, a greater impact on our already vulnerable neighborhoods. So I believe we have an opportunity to do both, to move some housing initiatives forward and to protect these neighborhoods and to layer in future engagement so that more of this communication can happen on the front end and these neighborhoods could have an opportunity to weigh in on how they see the future of their neighborhoods, and maybe some of what we're doing in these proposals will be attractive then. Maybe they won't. But the time has been requested. The time has been spoken out about several times by council. So we do have an alternative, and I do have a draft of that, but I don't want to interrupt your process, Kim, or anybody else's comments, so I was going to kind of hold out.
In summary, it would
In,
be.
in summary, it would be approving these wording amendments throughout the city of Asheville, but then excluding them for 5 areas: East End, South Side, Burton Street, Shiloh, and Emma. We have some exhibits and maps that we had pulled together last minute that we can share, but that's kind of the tone of what we've been discussing, and I don't want to speak for my colleagues, so if you have other comments to share.
I want to just say thank you to our Legacy Neighborhood leadership for again coming out to provide public input on land use. I'm now at 5 years of supporting overlays as part of advancing equitable affordable housing and neighborhood resiliency. And I hear in the conversations that I've had with my colleagues this week and with the comments that we've had today, the serious issues we have around affordable housing and the sequencing, including engagement. With confidence that council will dig into our strategic goals of equitable, affordable housing at our retreat in, count them, less than 48 hours. And that we'll get back in sequence with meaningful engagement of our neighborhoods as we work towards adoption of our affordable housing plan, our missing middle housing plan, and our displacement risk assessment. I move to deny the resident-led proposed wording amendments to Chapter 7 of the Asheville Code of Ordinances and find that the proposed amendments are not reasonable, not in the public interest, and not consistent with the city's comprehensive plan and supportive studies.
I'll second.
So we have a motion to deny. Let me ask Brad a question. If this motion passes, can a second motion be made that reflects what Councilwoman Turner is talking about, or is it DEAD dead?
I was under the impression we needed to suggest a different motion, but, and
Well, I mean, you would be
Not
proposing
voting down
something
one.
different, 'cause
Yeah.
that is a straight up denial, and I'm
Right.
just asking, not that it matters, we're gonna vote on this motion. I mean, unless there's a motion to amend this motion.
Mayor, in response to that question, per your city council rules, a substantive motion, which essentially contradicts another motion already on the table, is improper. So the short answer is I believe that the original motion, if passed, would be definitive and prohibitive of a second motion.
And what about this denial? I mean, do we need to remove the denial to have, or this
Well,
alternative
if the motion fails, then
Make
a
a
second
new.
motion can be
Yeah, point of order, we
made.
have a motion and a second, so it's.
You could amend the motion, but I don't know that you could amend it meaningfully.
Yeah.
I was trying to think I don't think you can.
And I was trying to get us a motion that didn't have to go towards a denial of anything. It just went to what we thought we wanted.
Yeah, and council.
So point of order, there's a motion and a second on the table.
You do have a motion and second on the table now. Any member can offer amendments if they so choose. They can be either accepted or rejected, or if a proposed amendment comes up, then council could vote on those amendments to the existing motion.
Probably a cleaner way procedurally would be to vote on this motion. If it fails, the second motion could be considered. If it passes, that is definitive.
Because I don't have a friendly amendment to a denial. I have an amendment to an approval.
Right. That's, okay, does everybody, we're doing heavy-duty Robert's rules right now, so everybody got it.
Yes to a denial is,
To deny
otherwise
it.
would be a no if it had been presented in the opposite way.
Yes,
Or
a
you-
yes to a
yes.
denial would be to vote against this proposal.
Or
Okay,
that could
so
be withdrawn. Yeah. It just
You can make a
complicates
request
things.
of the motion maker to
I
withdraw,
would
but I'm not
request
hearing
that
there's an
the motion
agreement.
be
to-
withdrawn, just so we could state it in more of a positive manner.
I
instead of a
appreciate the
second.
tone for positivity, and I also want us to do our goal of equitable, affordable housing. I want us to get on track. I want to get an overlay. I want public benefits. I want to build affordable housing on the corridors where we have the infrastructure. I want our neighborhood plans to get done that have been waiting forever, and so that's why I made this staff recommended motion in the documents.
Well, Let me just offer to that, there's been a lot of discussion this week about what exactly does council want in terms of an overlay. An overlay can be a lot of different things, and we haven't actually directed staff as to what that would be. So I think an overlay could be a freezing of zoning, like we've talked about. It could be in certain areas, but it could also treat the land uses differently within the overlay area. An overlay, in the case of, for example, the Shiloh neighborhood plan, it's not entirely clear because the plan doesn't just speak to zoning issues. It has a lot of other things. So I think we'd have to have, I think we as a council will need to provide more specific direction to staff for them to be able to do all the things you just said.
I thought the original direction to staff was to speak to the neighborhoods before they came back to us with thoughts of what an overlay would look like.
That was my understanding as well.
In my conversations
Do you want to speak to that, Steph? You just said you've already done that.
I will speak to this because I just think it's a point of clarification. My name is Steph Munson-Dahl. I'm the Planning and Urban Design Director. I think what has been said here tonight is really important, and my takeaway from it is that the type of engagement and the timing of the engagement that happened during this process was not sufficient. And I'm with Renee on that. Absolutely, and we need to make improvements. But as a reminder for everyone, these amendments have been in front of you, these amendments and the amendments that were also on the agenda, 3 of them today, for over a year. These have been in the public dialogue, and we have definitely met with the legacy neighborhoods during that time last summer. We worked with them to try to create an educational and collaborative opportunity to work on an overlay. We had that shared goal during the summer. At the end of the summer, the legacy neighborhoods decided to go a different direction and decided that they wanted to work on their own towards coming up with recommendations for their individual neighborhoods about what they wanted for anti-displacement. At that time, it was the end of August, and we went right into September with them being able to coordinate responses back to the city and right into Helene. The unfortunate piece of this is that all that work was basically lost in the storm. So what happened here is that we did not go back early enough to reboot the process that we started and that went on for months last year. But as a reminder for everybody, the amendments that you moved and the amendment that Barry has on now, those are all amendments that have been in the public arena and have been discussed at CAN, NAC, Planning and Zoning, at the Legacy Neighborhoods Coalition for at least a year now.
Steph, I appreciate that, and I think staff have done as the best they can, and this is a big challenge, and it's been through challenging times. I feel like there has been some direction that some of us were trying to organize and say this overlay, and we came at it from a different way of an upzoning of everything but, and all this other stuff. But what I've consistently heard, and what I came to my fellow colleagues with this week, was we know we want to protect these neighborhoods for a while. We know we want to do more engagement. And along with that suggestion came that when we get into our retreat, how about we talk about that? And how about, since we know that these neighborhoods are likely to see even additional harm because of the disaster, that we consider dedicating some DR money to do this engagement and to come back after that. So my hope was tonight to not have to, I'd love a signal from you two over here with the motion and the second. Are you supportive of the idea of moving forward with we can do this in the city and protect these neighborhoods? Because I don't want to vote something down unless something behind it can come. But I'm sensitive. I would love for you to withdraw your motion and just go with this, but I know you can't.
You're saying the whole city, if we bring out the legacy neighborhoods, instead of on the corridor, we'd actually move for the whole city.
Including ours,
corridors
too.
Next,
Okay.
Citywide, and then remove the 5 neighborhoods that we have all been trying to figure out how to protect through this process. And then agree to do some engagement on it. And I hear clearly from staff who are overwhelmed. I mean, with all that is going on in the community, there is a lot of overwhelm. I don't think we could realistically expect the neighborhoods or the staff to come together quickly on something like this. I think it's going to take time, and we're still recovering. There's a lot of time needed. So I'm fine with setting aside the neighborhoods and letting that engagement happen and see what comes from it. But I also think that we cannot halt all advancements in housing planning. And these things have been in front of us for so long. I wanted to move forward tonight and freeze the neighborhoods, give them their time, pass it everywhere else.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. So at first, I just want to make sure everybody gets what the Vice Mayor was asking about. If voting yes for this motion means you're voting against the proposal. Voting no for this motion means you're voting for it, but yeah. So this is a motion to turn down the proposal. Are we clear?
And that
So
if the
you vote-
motion passes,
Then it's
a
turned
second motion,
Can be made immediately.
No,
No.
if the
Not made.
motion passes, no second motion can be made.
right.
If the motion fails, a second motion can be made.
And
Okay,
if the motion fails, then the proposal is just dead for how long?
Until I
Because-
make another
no,
motion.
if it passes.
No, I'm just getting clarification on if it passes on
Yeah.
tonight, then what happens to?
Oh, the timeline?
need to know.
How long do you think?
For it.
Is it a year?
So well, for this type of a text amendment, it would not, you would not have the year
So really staff could
moratorium.
bring it back
It
out.
could
Yeah,
come back
because that's what I thought I
at a future
heard.
time. Council also has the ability always, under certain circumstances, to reconsider previous motions. So technically, under various circumstances, this could come back as quickly as your next meeting.
Okay, because I'm trying to clarify or differentiate that from other hearings that
Oh,
are
where it's a time
closed
bar
down,
for,
then it's like
yeah.
a 2-year
Yeah.
period
Those
before
are-
it can come back.
yes,
Okay,
yes,
Because this is resident-led, it can
The-
come
the-
back and
We
be
vote down
presented by
this
staff.
Those
or
are,
no?
those are particular to,
She's got a motion
what
to
you see in a
deny.
conditional zoning where there's a
if we say
proposed
no,
development
downside's
proposal
passed,
that's,
then
or
I
excuse me, a
can't do
proposed
this.
zoning change for
So I need
particular
that.
property.
I'm just getting confused.
Got it.
I'm having a hard time respecting everyone's time because there's two people talking at the same time, so I hope we can just have one at a time.
Okay,
I was
are
just
we ready
making
to
sure
vote?
I understood that
Okay, does
motion.
everybody know how they, any more questions about how to vote?
So-
Good? Are we good?
I think so.
Okay, all those in favor of this motion, raise your hand.
This
Okay.
is to, say- am I confused? Okay.
All right, all those opposed to the motion, raise your hand. All right, so the motion carries, so this matter is dead.
And we can't introduce another motion now.
That's right.
What the heck?
As context, you are, as a council, allowed to make future zoning changes, even reversing previous changes. You would need to go through the process. If there are notice requirements for that, it would require that process again.
Gotcha.
So we could hear this March 11th again, but
No.
with.
Only not March
No,
11th,
no,
because they're going to be an
yeah.
overlay.
Well, wow.
Well,
Why not?
Well, no,
I mean, you could.
well, no, you'd have to do P and Z again, right? So
Okay.
probably the timing wouldn't.
so to move it forward at that pace, Councilmember Hess, you would need a vote of council to reconsider the motion that just passed. And that requires for this type of zoning decision, actually requires a 3/4 vote of
Yeah.
council.
Is
and
this
change
what you all wanted? I thought we had all talked about wanting to move forward but protect the neighborhoods. Did I
Said I
miss?
would get back to you if the neighborhood approves it, and I didn't.
I can't
get
hear
back.
people.
Okay,
Talk to
so
the mics.
let's just, I mean, what's done is done, so we'll just have to talk about it later. We do have another item on the agenda.
Oh, yeah, we
That's
gotta
what
do
I'm
it
just
again.
doing. I'm just, okay, so now we have the, as Maggie is pointing out, we have the flag lot item. Anyone have a motion regarding the flag lots?
I move to deny the resident-led proposed wording amendments to Chapter 7 of the Asheville Code of Ordinance and find that the proposed amendments are not reasonable, are not in the public interest, are not wholly consistent with the comprehensive plan.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. The same thing as last time. Okay. All those in favor, please say aye or raise your hand. Aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? Okay. Okay, so the motion carries and the item is not passed. It's dead. All right, thank you, everyone. We have, on a more exciting note, new business items A1 and A2. We'll just take a second here to do a little switch out. if anyone, we'll be taking a break. We'll be taking a few minutes. Let's come back at 7:25. Okay, welcome back. We just had a brief break. We're back. We have just a couple more items here on our agenda, and the first one, or the last two remaining, are two items of new business. A resolution authorizing staff to submit an administrative action plan for the Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery, et cetera, and then a budget amendment that speaks to the same. And James Shelton is here to talk to us about this. Look, he's wearing his name tag. Okay, very good.
Hi. Yeah, I'm James Shelton. I'm the Community Development Division Manager for the Community and Economic Development Department. I spoke to you, Council, on Thursday last week about the Community Development Block Grant Program, of which the City of Asheville has received a $225 million allocation from the Department of Housing and Urban Development. Of that $225 million, we may use up to 5% for administrative costs to run this program over the next 6 years. 6 years. That's how long we have to spread out and budget our ability to fund our administration of this program. So tonight we ask you to authorize us to submit an administrative action plan to the Department of Housing and Urban Development that will outline how we intend to use those administrative dollars, and it's for the full amount of the 5% that we will budget over 6 years. So as I mentioned on January 8th, we did receive notification that we would receive a direct allocation in the amount of $225 million. The city must now develop an action plan, and we are actively in the process of developing that plan right now. We are deep in the thick of our community engagement process. We had the first of our 6 engagement sessions yesterday. It was virtual. We had over 50 of our local residents and businesses and representatives from the chamber were also there. We were super excited to get that engagement process started. We have our next one tomorrow at the West Asheville Library at 3 o'clock, I believe is the time. We'll be there at 3 o'clock tomorrow for our first in-person session. So this is all part of that action plan development, and we are already incurring costs as a part of the development of this plan. By submitting the administrative action plan now, we may start reimbursing ourselves at the city to pay for those costs. These funds are anticipated to be available once the plan is approved later this fall in 2025. That's the full amount of the grant. By accessing the administrative portion early, we'll have access to 5% that will allow us to pay for and reimburse costs associated with the development of the action plan, as well as pay for ongoing costs for the life of the grant over the next 6 years. This requires us to submit an action plan. It will outline our proposed uses. So 5%, that's $11,250,000, and as I said, we must budget that for 6 years. We do not have any intention of using the full amount of that anytime over the next 1 year, 2 year, 3 years. We have to be very strategic about how we use those funds. Eligible administrative costs include staff time, consulting fees, public engagement costs. I went to Costco today and bought a bunch of snacks and water that we'll have at West Asheville Library tomorrow. So feel free to come and get some Halloween candy, everybody. That's an eligible reimbursement cost that we have already incurred. It was $83 out of the city general fund that these administrative funds will help to reimburse. Just to give you a very real example.
I think Ken has $83 worth of candy at his desk.
It's water as well, Mayor. It's water. It also helps to pay for ongoing administrative costs associated with overseeing the life of this grant. And in order to access those funds, we have to submit that plan to HUD with your authorization. HUD will then review that plan and have 30 days to review it and approve it. Requesting early access to these funds is completely optional. We don't have to do it. It just allows us to access those funds earlier to help reimburse ourselves at the city. And we'll have full access to them once we receive the full grant agreement anyway. Whether you approve this tonight or not, we'll have those funds as part of the overall grant agreement at some point anyway. But requesting them early allows us to begin reimbursing costs that we're already incurring, as I mentioned, Candy, but also consulting services for action plan development and public engagement costs, like interpretation. We have contracted with an interpretation firm that's providing Spanish interpretation at all of our public engagement. That's it. It's pretty simple. You'll also see that there is a budget amendment in the full amount of the grant of $225,010,000. This allows us to not have to come back in front of council to request another budget amendment. This is just for administrative simplicity. It allows us to just have that set aside in our budget so that when we do have the fully executed grant agreement this summer, we don't have to do a budget amendment as a part of that. Any questions?
No, but I think this council knows that we frequently update these kind of plans, so it'll be back. I'm happy to make a motion.
Please do.
I don't think we have any public comment or anything. No, we don't. Checking for you, Mayor. We do not. All right, I'll make a motion to adopt a resolution authorizing city staff to submit an administrative action plan for the CDBG-DR grant to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development in order to access up to 5% or $11,250,500 of the total allocation to pay for and reimburse the city for grant-related administrative costs, authorizing the city manager to execute all documents necessary to give effect to this resolution, and approving a budget amendment in the amount of $225,010,000 for the total amount of the CDBG-DR allocation, noting that these funds are subject to HUD approval of the CDBG-DR action plan and are not anticipated to be available for expenditure until later in the calendar year of 2025.
Second. All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And then the budget amendment.
Okay. Do we have a budget amendment too?
You included that in the first motion.
I did. Oh, I needed to make it separate?
So you're fine.
That's okay.
Okay.
What, wait, that was an all-in-oner?
Yes.
Yeah, I just
Okay.
read it as one.
Okay, didn't need to be a
Yeah.
separate one. All right, thank you, your services are included there. All right, so, that,
Unless you want to talk about
Thank you for your
the previous issue.
Mayor.
yeah,
Thank you. I would like to make a motion to reconsider the motion to deny the zoning text amendments. What I'm thinking, we have, and we must, and I think the council feels very clear that we must protect our legacy neighborhoods. And on the flip side, I don't want this to carry on for another year and wait for staff to bring us. I want to have a sense of urgency for them. And so what I would like to do is reopen the motion, reconsider that, and then I will make a motion to continue our vote until the 28th, when staff can pull out those neighborhoods that we've asked them to pull out.
what date is it?
February
5th.
I can tell you that we already have 4 public hearings on that day. It's just
Do we have to have another public hearing because we've?
Process question, what is the threshold requirement to succeed with that motion?
Motion.
Yes.
Is that still the 2/3?
No, this is a separate motion. So council, pursuant to your rules, specifically City Council Rule 19L, you are allowed to make a motion to reconsider any vote that's been concluded as long as it occurs at the same meeting or the next meeting.
Okay.
The motion must be made by someone who voted on the winning side of that motion. And it only requires a simple majority, so
Okay.
4 votes to pass. If passed, essentially what that does is flip the vote of that previous motion. It doesn't grant any other motions.
But then I could make the other motion.
You could, but I think what
Or you want to do it
Councilmember
tonight
Hess
or in
has
the
suggested
future?
he might make a motion to
I-
continue that.
I am not comfortable with
Okay.
this
Tonight.
unless staff has given us their word that we can have these maps, our legacy neighborhoods are protected, and we can move it forward.
A question,
Is that what
does
staff-
staff have those maps today that they could show?
We're just talking about an exhibit with the 5 mentioned neighborhoods on a map, which I thought you had.
They all fled already, all the
I'm
staff
talking to-
related to that
Oh.
item.
But we can still bring this to a future meeting. It doesn't have to wait a year. That was
Okay, I
the
just
whole
wanted to
conversation we
have my
had.
question answered.
So how about this? What you just said, that last part was a little bit confusing, and I don't know if it'll be, if what you had in mind would be ready for February 25th, unless you just mean that we have a map
Showing
on our
the 5
system that shows the
I
5
don't have
neighborhoods.
any map. I haven't seen a map. I'm reticent to go forward with this without seeing a map that clearly lays out that our legacy neighborhoods are being taken care of. And at the same time, I think that we need to put some urgency onto the situation and move this forward, protect our neighborhoods, get some housing.
So you don't mean an overlay map, you just mean the map, I think we have it here tonight, a map of the city of
And
Asheville
how do you
highlighting those
know,
5 neighborhoods.
how will you know if the maps that were being shown are okay with the legacy neighborhoods who have since left?
Exactly. That's what I.
'Cause it was their
That's why I don't
maps.
want to vote on it today.
It was their maps.
Okay, so here, just in the,
We tried.
I feel like we're doing a little encore here.
Yeah.
So you made a motion to reconsider the motion, the denial of the.
I'm kind of just, because
Yeah, no, I'm just-
Councilmember Smith has something.
Oh,
that-
okay, I was just
No.
recapping.
Go on, because I want to understand what the action actually is.
Yeah,
Okay.
so what I'm sensing is frustration from the council, even before I got onto the council, about what we are asking for from staff. What I know from all of our conversations is we feel very strongly we need to protect our legacy neighborhoods, as do I. So I don't want any of these things, if they all come to us on March 11th, we have put the overlay, the underlay, the sideways lay, any type of lay on our legacy neighborhoods. I am happy to support every single one of these things once I know that's the case on March 11th. But right now, I would like to let staff know we're serious, reopen this, continue it to March 11th so that they have time to bring us the maps that our legacy neighborhoods, or February 25th, that our legacy neighborhoods can approve, and then we move forward with those neighborhoods carved out so that they're protected as they want to be. What do you guys think?
Okay, so,
The first is a motion to reconsider the first, so I will second your motion so that we can have a proper
So
process.
just to recap, we have a motion and a second to reconsider the vote denying the item amending the Unified Development Ordinance to revise the cottage development standards. That's it, the motion and a second, and
Is there a map present in this room with these 5 neighborhoods on it?
yeah, it's present on my computer. But Brad?
No, I thought
do
we
you-
had one to put up on the projector, ready.
I
Or
can-
maybe it's on the
For the public
screen,
to
I don't know.
consider.
I could put my,
I just wonder if,
Point of order.
it's here.
May we vote?
yeah,
on the
so,
motion?
yeah, we have,
We can have discussion though.
hey Maggie,
We can.
I'm just kidding. Just kidding with that presentation's left there. Did you already say, Brad, what the vote needs to be in order for this motion to be successful?
It is a simple majority for this motion to be successful. And I will remind council that there were 2 separate motions here, one for flag lots and one for cottage.
do it
development.
We got it.
We gotta
Okay.
do it again.
And
Okay.
this would be to continue it till February 25th?
Those are, I apologize, council, those are actually 2 separate
I'm
motions.
sorry, yes, you're right, sorry, I'm not confusing you. Okay, first is the motion to reconsider.
But we could actually just bring it back to another date. It doesn't require a vote. I'm just hearing that the vote will put fire under staff to bring forth the maps.
Well, process-wise, I think we'd have to use a different process to bring it back. It would have to be a council or staff initiated.
And it would have to, I think, go through P and Z.
It's up to council if you would like it to return to P and Z, since these particular matters have already been to P and Z.
No, to Councilwoman Smith's point, an alternative methodology to bring it back to us. Let's say we're not doing this motion to reconsider. How does this item come back? How does it come back to us theoretically?
But again, because this is not a rezoning that requires a year waiting period based upon your final decision, this is a simple text amendment about the rules of development. That can come back at any point.
But
So-
would the person initiating it need to bring it back?
Nope, council has the authority to ask staff to bring it back to you at any point.
So that's
And-
what Bo is doing
and-
with this motion.
Yes.
And that would take a vote of council, or Deborah and I
We
create
would,
the
we would
agenda
want
to put
an
it on.
affirmative vote of a majority council to direct staff to do that.
So one way or another, everybody's.
Say that again, I was drifting.
We, staff can bring this, both of these motions back at any time to council. We would just want, as always, a majority of council to direct us to do that.
And so that's what I'm trying to do
I would
is,
like to study the maps and see the maps.
yes,
And even
that's
talk
my
to
thing.
them before I even vote.
Well,
So
but we're
can we
not
do
there.
that can we do that before March 11th? If
We can do that Thursday. We're gonna be together.
We could
again
do
on
it Thursday? Yeah, so could we,
Before
so
we
I'd
put
like
it
to
on the
open
schedule.
this back up. I'd like to continue it. That way we have a chance to, we can guide staff to say, hey, we want this on this day. We'll have a chance at the retreat to really discuss and talk about this in depth and then go from there. So,
Well, probably not at the retreat.
Not at the
but
retreat, the
during a
agenda's
break
done.
in the retreat, we could
Yeah.
talk about it.
okay.
so there's a motion and a second.
Okay, so we got a motion and a second. We're going to talk about the date in just a minute. First, we're going to do this motion and a second. So this is a motion to reconsider.
And,
Item,
okay. To simply reconsider, no date. Okay.
Yes.
And then a
Yeah.
second motion
I'm ready.
is the date.
okay, and are we ready? to-
Reconsider, no date.
We haven't talked about the date. Brad wants
It's a
that to be a
separate
second
motion.
motion,
Okay.
a separate motion.
Sorry.
Ready? Get
Yes.
set. All those in favor of this motion, raise your hand. All those opposed to this motion, raise your hand. Okay, 4-3. So now, well, is
we-
there a
So
motion
I would like to make
pick a
a
date
motion
to move it?
to move this, to continue this to,
Pick a date. It's February 25th or March 11th.
I was, March
Yeah, March is fine. Yeah, then all the applicants are.
March 11th.
Do we have a
Can
second?
we
A second.
notice this?
Second.
Right. Okay, we have a,
You need a cigarette.
we have a motion and a second to move
I did.
to March 11th. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Ooh.
No?
Okay.
I thought we were gonna
All-
raise our
I'm sorry, I
hands.
know,
Oh, okay.
I just totally spaced out on them, I'm sorry. All those in favor, please raise your hand. And all those opposed, please raise your hand. Thank you.
And then we
Okay,
do this.
now.
We got
are
to do
you-
it again.
You've got the
Proceed.
process down now.
Did you want to do the second item for flag lots?
We had two. You have to do both.
So,
Reopen public hearing C.
no, it's not reopen public hearing, item C. It's a motion to reconsider the vote
Sorry,
to
yes.
deny item
Motion
C,
for C.
an amendment to the UDO to revise the flag lot standards. What happened over there?
So, to reconsider?
Yeah.
So moved.
And second.
Okay, we got it? Paul, you can just watch the video online of this. Okay. Oh.
Send it
Okay.
to us, Paul, please.
All right.
All right, we got a motion and a
Ready?
second.
Okay, all those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, please raise your hand. Okay,
Now
now
date.
do I have a motion to continue
Item
that
C.
thing we just did to March 11th?
That thing, was that date.
The
Second.
item C. Okay, we have who made the motion?
Bo.
And the second was Sage? All right, all those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, please raise your hand. Okay,
Now I have a process question. Because it's now council-initiated and staff-led, because both of those were not recommended by staff for very specific reasons, will we have what staff might actually recommend? And also, because these are new, will we have public comment on the 11th? Because now we have the 5 UDO changes on the same day again.
To answer your first question, Councilmember Roney, the city manager's certainly here, and I think we're hearing what council's requesting for the staff to bring forward. With regard to public comment, it's completely in council's discretion how you, the public hearing technically occurred this evening for the second time, actually, but council has the authority to open that
But that
back
was
up.
a citizen one. Now it's a council staff one.
It's actually still the same thing, because what essentially the motion did is undo the original vote, which means you really haven't taken a vote, you haven't taken a final vote on this item yet.
So basically, we could have continued this.
You could have continued it.
Or
We
the-
could have, yeah.
That's the final result.
This was the long way to that.
Okay.
Okay. Train's coming. Okay. Okay. It's general public comment, and we have a few brave people that have stayed all the way to the end of this meeting. And first, I will call on the first speaker, Jonathan Wainscott. Each speaker has 3 minutes to speak. Please watch the lights on the lectern. Green means go, orange means you're almost ended, and red means stop.
I need a second to see if this is going to work. I didn't have
Me
time
too.
to put together a presentation. So is that going to work?
Whoa. Here, just scoot it down.
Yeah, it's working. You gotta speak down though.
Oh, I got this doesn't touch screen. Hang on, just bear with me. All right. My name.
Oh, I know this.
My name is Jonathan Wainscott, and this is my car that was caught on fire in my driveway over 6 years ago. Why am I bringing it up now? Because it finally got resolved yesterday.
Wow.
Yesterday, yeah. The guy who burned it, his name was John Eldrith, and at the time that he burned my car in my driveway, he was a lieutenant of the fire department. Isn't that a crazy thing? So, you know, after 6 years, you kind of wonder why something like this took so long to get done, you know? Is it because the DA loves firefighters and doesn't want to embarrass anybody, doesn't want to embarrass the city? Is it because the DA is about as sharp as a bowl of potato salad? Who knows? Is it because Jonathan Wainscott is a political activist and antagonist? I don't know. But see, what happened is this dude went onto my property, scratched the words "leave her alone" in the side of my car. Everybody wants to know who that person was. I'm not going to name her. But if you Google Asheville defamation Facebook, the same person who got sued for $500,000 for a big mouth back in 2015, same person lives up the street from me. So, you know, this is absolutely crazy that this happened. And, you know, this is, you can't really see it very well. It's too bad. If you want to see it better and listen to the audio, you can go to my YouTube, Jonathan Wainscott, you know, just go and Google that and you'll get there. But yeah, man, this all happened yesterday. And it was because basically I said, I'm done with this. I'm not going to insist on this being a felony charge. The file on this guy, on this one case, was 2 inches thick. It was the size of a Chicago film book. I'm not even joking. So I really appreciate the Asheville Police Department, Christopher Dennis, for being able to bring this charge and bring a felony. No criminal trespass, no communicating the threat, and nothing. You know, so, you know, special day. I know that we had some employee recognition earlier for people who actually do good stuff in the city. But this D-bag has just moved to Florida, and thank God, and, you know, never going to spend a day in jail. Nothing. Walked in, got a $10,000 unsecured bond, didn't have to pay a dime for anything. Isn't it crazy how some people just get stacked with every charge in the case, but this guy gets hardly anything? This is what a misdemeanor looks like in Asheville and Buncombe County in North Carolina. Just wanted to share that. I'm putting it in my rear view mirror so we don't have to do this. This happened almost like right before you got here, right? Like right after you got here. Your entire duration. 6 years. The Civil War was 4 days shy of 4 years. Like how many different ways? There have been 2 February 29th since this happened. You know, what does SBI stand for? The Special Buddies Investigation Unit? Why does the SBI have a reputation for a place where investigations go to die? We've got all these arsons unsolved in this town, and we've got a firefighter who's an arsonist. It feels so good to have that behind me now.
Right, thank
bring
you.
my, fire or something else next time. What an unbelievable piece of work that did was.
Anthony Mejia.
Oy, are we at the
And, no, we're not.
My acceptance for enlistment is based on the information I have given in my application for enlistment. If any of the information is false or incorrect, the enlistment may be voided or terminated, and I may be tried by federal civilian military court if found guilty or punished. Furthermore, I also understand that any promises or guarantees made to me by anyone not set forth in Section B attached annexes are not effective and will not be honored. That's a contract I signed when I was 17 years old. I'm from Asheville. We talk about community, we talk about South Side, Shiloh, all these places. I've been there. I've went to Irwin, I graduated, I enlisted out of Irwin High School. I go to these places and I work with these kids. And every day, I don't tell them how much it hurts that my country doesn't want me here. I made an incredible decision when I was 17 years old. Some people call it bravery, I'd say it was foolish. But in any case, I did what was asked of me by my American community, one that always talked about exceptionalism, talked about doing the right thing, about being righteous, about being selfless and brave and honorable, about speaking up for those who can't. And you know what? I did it. I did. I did it. I held up to what was expected of me, my own morals, and the morals set forth by this country, supposedly. All I'm asking to do is the same thing. I get it, there's so much going on. Hurricane Helene, housing crisis, but you gotta understand, when I come here, I come for all those same reasons. The immigrants that are here, the poorest people that are here, it is the same fight. The same people who can't afford housing because they don't have enough minimum wage, because they don't have enough payment. Who are they competing for jobs against? They're competing with my people who are being paid nothing, who don't have worker protection, who don't have the same rights as every other American. And for that reason, we're blamed. Even though keeping a whole section of people down is the reason you're able to take away things from other people. I know you know that. I know. We all know that. I'm only asking you to do exactly what I did, your job. Be brave. Say something. Start doing work that protects the most vulnerable of us. Yes, everything, all those proposals, everything for these communities, for these legacy communities, but understand none of that means anything if you don't protect us. If you don't say vehemently, we are here, we are people, we belong, we deserve rights, we deserve health care, we deserve payment, we deserve to live. I am 25 years old, and I am tired, and I'm telling you, my elder generation, my council, do your job. Be brave.
Thank you. Natasha Schwade.
Happy Pride. Long-time worker, first-time commenter, kind of a little Reddit joke. So anyway, I'm here to talk about transportation. Just like the NCDOT and the city and some of the hopes that you guys can push forward in all of those communications. In general, I appreciate the efforts that have been made with everyone working together to talk about some of the stakeholders. But the UNC Minority Health Conference is coming up at the end of the month, and it happens every year, and it's happened for 40 years, and me and my mom have gone together since 2016. So a few years ago, I saw a presentation about urban renewal, and the cities that they chose to talk about were Asheville, Greensboro, and Durham. And I'm from Durham, which is Bull City. And then I went to my second bachelor's degree in Greensboro, and I got my first bachelor's here in Asheville, and that's how I ended up in Asheville in the first place. So I just want to say that I hope that the council and others that you guys work with can consider all ways of transportation that include walking and biking, transit, wheelchairs, walkers, strollers, skateboards, crawling, and consider the health of actual stakeholders like marginalized groups, non-marginalized groups, people working in the construction of these projects and their families, people living near the material production of these, for these projects, and the landfills for the waste of these projects. And to add to others' comments, just considering the actual people that like work on these projects, live near all of them. A lot of them are marginalized groups that may not be documented, and a lot of those places are in trailer parks that are near the highways or in places that people in legacy neighborhoods have been able to have some protection over, and some of those people have not. So those are my main points. Thank you.
Thank you. Jared Wheatley.
Good evening again, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council. I appreciate the discussion and the press for continued improvement of our UDO, especially centering that conversation around equity. What I wanted to kind of bring to your attention, just in case it might have passed, is that the UDO amendments for flag lots and cottage clusters, that amendment would be held inside of those sections within the UDO. So in other words, if there's a map that's generated, particularly associated with cottage clusters and flag lots, that would only pertain to those zoning sections. And so that's a big difference between an overlay, which would impact the entire breadth of the UDO inside of that overlay, versus only cottage clusters and flag lots as it pertains to those neighborhoods. So that's a really profound difference in kind of understanding the implementation of protections within the neighborhood. And I don't think that it's necessarily including the maps inside of the sections of the flag lots and the cottage clusters is in alignment with what we heard from our neighbors here this evening. So I just wanted to point that out because it is a small difference, kind of maybe from the outside, but you know, it's like, do they get the whole protection or just, you know, dip the toe in the water of protection? So thank you so much. Hope you guys have a great, or folks have a great evening.
Thank you. That concludes our public comment period. So council, until February 25th, well, actually, we're going to see you all day Thursday and all day Friday. So until 2 days from now, we're adjourned.